I'll be back.
Evening. Hope everybody's keeping well. Welcome back to Be on the Lane, episode 23. Thank you, Roadman and Michael, for joining us tonight. How are you guys doing? Roadman, how are you, buddy?
Yeah, I'm all right. What was it? Not yesterday. I think it was yesterday, day before I passed my CBT for my motorbike. So I was really happy about that. So yeah, I've had a good couple of days.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks for jumping on, man.
No, it's good. It's good. It's been a while. I haven't done anything like this for a while. So looking forward to it.
Good. And Michael, how are you?
Yeah, the sun is shining. It's getting hotter. The weather is nice. Everything good in life. So yeah, if only Spurs coupled that up with a couple of good performances, everything would be sweet and rosy. But cannot complain with the last 3 results.
And Nige, how are you, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. Nice intro. I wasn't expecting I'll be back at the end, so that made me laugh a bit.
So
How are you doing?
You've got to have a bit of fun, haven't you, on YouTube?
Got to be done, innit?
Yeah, has to. Big up everybody in the chat. Big up everybody watching at home. Please get involved with your comments throughout the evening. How many of you are now behind Ange? We'll find out. If you haven't subscribed, please do, to myself, Nige, and the Roadman at Tottenham on Tour. Brilliant. Let's get into it. So, guys, Spurs are back. Or are they? Spurs beat the mighty Ipswich. That Ipswich performance was an Ange tactical masterclass. I've been hearing. Ange the Messiah is back. Johnson is back and scoring goals. Romero and Van der Ven are back for AZ. Ange has unearthed Jed Spence's talent. What a coach he is. There was the next big star. We are back in the European places race. We can catch Forest, some say. Look, guys, let's pretend the past 14 months hasn't happened, yeah? Out of both of the cups, it's okay. We've won the last 3 games. It's all forgotten, and now we're back. We're proper back, and we can win the Europa League, as the bookie says, we're favourites. Look, guys, there's different opinions, different outlooks, short-term memories. The standards and the expectations within the fan base is all over the place. Everybody thinks how they want and has all different outlooks on it. So tonight, it's a straightforward show to do. We'll be touching on the Ipswich game. We'll be looking at I'll be back or whatever, looking ahead to the City match. So yeah, let's have a cracking show tonight, guys. Now, let's start off with Roadman. What did you like about that Ipswich win? And was there any standout performances, or was there anything that you didn't like?
I mean, obviously, before the match, I was a little worried. Last time we played Ipswich, even with a bit of a stronger squad, we lost. We had Romero and Van der Ven for that, and we still lost it. It was a good match. We got goals. I just think we just had a bit more about us than Ipswich did, but we were still vulnerable. I mean, they had a lot of shots at our goal. I think they had something like 17, I believe it was. I'm not sure of the full stat of that, but I think it was around about 17. We're still weak in that area. I mean, Archie Gray got exposed a few times. Not surprised. You know what I mean? We're still using a midfielder as a centre-back. And, it weren't the most flawless game ever, but it was nice to see a win. Standout performances, Jed Spence again. I thought, you know what I mean? He's come into his own. He's starting to show what he's about. Nothing to do with Ange, by the way. He's just been given game time. Simple as. You give a player like that game time, he's going to start performing. It's not like Ange just found him like a diamond in the rough. He's always had a bit about him. You've seen that in Forest a few years back. I think it was Forest he played, weren't it? Was it Forest in the Championship? I think it was, yeah. You've seen it there. It's not like Ange just found him out of the blue. And overall, I think a good couple of players turned up. I think Sonny at times, don't get me wrong, throughout the whole game, he wasn't perfect. But when we needed him, one-on-one versus plays and everything, he did what he used to do. Actually pass his man, finally. And we had Brennan at the back post, which I know people call him a tapping merchant. I'm Welsh, right? I've slated the hell out of him. I'm not here to be biased or anything like that. I've slated the hell out of Brennan. But the one thing he's good at the moment is being where players are not. And I know a lot of people have dislike that. They want a winger who could be skillful, who can take on a player, who can, run past a player. But how many wingers do that but have zero end product? The thing is, he's scoring goals, whether it's tap-ins or whatnot, he's there. And I wanted to point out something that I spoke to another person about this when they said about tap-ins and stuff like that. If you watch that first goal, right, he's there at the back post, beating his man, getting the goal. If you watch his second one, what are the Ipswich defenders doing? They drop right back to block the path off to where Brennan would be. And he's completely out in the open, free as a bird, just waiting for that ball to come in. And a lot of people are not seeing that. It's that effect as well it has on defenders when you have a player who can always be in that back post waiting for that ball to come in. It can drop them back and allow space to be opened up. And he found that space open. He used that of the Ipswich defenders being in that worry, blocking off that lane for Sonny to pass through, and allowed that open bit for himself to get that second goal. So, yeah, I mean, people can slate him and everything. He's getting goals. I'd rather a player get goals than a player who can be posted on YouTube. That's my thing. So
no, it's interesting. Like, yeah, Johnson, he gets a lot of criticism, but he does score goals. He's not a winger, so it's unfair to criticise him when he's not a winger, is it? Really, if he's like a second forward, whatever you want to call it, inside forward. So no, you made some great points there. Honestly, before I go on to Michael, I just want to say hello to people in the chat because I forgot to do it. So big up to Mark. Hope you're well. Big up to George. Hope you're good. Thanks for joining us tonight. Big up to Rob. Hope you're well. Big up to Fran as well. Thank you for joining us. Rob Frank says, awesome intro. Cheers, man. It's all a bit of fun. Big up Barney. Hope you're keeping well. Good evening to you, David, as well. George has said, no change. Still Ange out. David is, I'm behind Spurs. I haven't changed my mind on Ange. More chance of seeing Robin Hood than catching Nottingham Forest. That's funny. Big up to Mark. Evening to you. David says, Ipswich young striker had Gray's pants down and Gray's not a midfielder. At least not at this level. Okay, we can talk about Gray a bit later. Dietrich, evening to you. Hope you're good. Archie Gray is the worst rated player on Football Mob. Yeah, I saw that. Oh dear. David again. If Johnson spends all the season knocking balls into the net, it's all right for me. But I have to say, Levy paid 47 million for a guy who can just get to the byline and cross when he's bloody woeful at it. Yeah, fair point. Rob Frank says, I don't think Johnson is a good player. However, positionally, he's underrated talent. Yeah, fair enough. And one more. Rentek, oh my God, is that the famous David? It sounds like he ain't been around.
Yes, it is.
He's here tonight. Michael, back to the Ipswich game. Now, we should be beating teams like Ipswich, really, without any fuss. So was there any standout performance for you, or was there anything you didn't like?
I think in general, I have to mention that those are the types of games that I expect us to win, even if we are in a bad patch of form or riddled with injuries, right? And I think this has been my biggest criticism of the whole past couple of months, where I'm not necessarily that fast about losing to Newcastle at home when they are full strength and we have a couple of injuries, right? I can excuse those losses, right? But it's the likes of Ipswich at home and Leicester at home and those types of games where I'm really like nervous with the whole Ange setup and the way he sets up the team and the way he approaches games tactically, right? So I am really happy that we won against Ipswich. I'm not getting carried away, as I think plenty of Spurs fans are in the same boat where, we've beaten Ipswich, Brentford at home, which, albeit like Brentford at home, I was quite impressed and surprised that we managed to beat them. And a woeful Manchester United side who we did that already 2 times already this season, right? But coming back to the first part of your question with the individual performances, I was happy to see Son playing well, because we rightfully criticized him over past few weeks, actually, or even maybe past few months. And this was part of what I want to see from him, right? there was end product in what he was doing, and he was actually taking on the player. Of course, taking into account the quality of the opposition, right, and the quality of the fullback he was facing. So I have to mention that, and I think overall, after that initial like 10-minute period where they really put it on us, I was happy with the fact that we took back the control of the game, and we actually started knocking the ball around and creating dangerous opportunities, and stopped the initial momentum that Ipswich came into the game with, and we took a bit of control into the game. I'm not saying it was a perfect performance. There were still periods where they wrestled the ball back from us and created dangerous opportunities, but overall it looked more mature, because our performances for quite a bit of time have been really chaotic and immature, and this was part of what I want to see from that team.
So it sounded like you're quite happy with that, Michael, and Roadman, you were happy with that, and Nige. Now we've had that victory. Are you you're Ange in? Is that really kind of cemented it for you now? And also, we finally won 3 games in a row, first time since December 2023. Yeah. So you must be proud.
Yeah, just to say that I'm Ange in because I just know we're not sacking him now, so we might as well just get behind him for the rest of the season. Saying that, we have won 3 in a row. That doesn't change how I feel about Ange. I still would like him replaced at the end of the season. Like I say, we've been saying for months on here every week, next week he'll be gone next, and he never is. So we're getting our players back. And like we've said before, when we've had the injuries, we have struggled to take chances. The thing now we got these players back, or some of them. Johnson, for instance, again, he's not going to beat your man. He's not going to do fancy tricks. But one thing he is going to do is get you numbers. And for me, I want to see my players scoring goals. And if Johnson's getting tap-ins, I'm happy if we're winning games. So, yeah. I'm currently Ange in until the end of the season.
Wow. Didn't expect that, Nige.
Then I want to see him replaced.
I'm surprised, mate, but fair enough. Look, that Ipswich game, for me, I thought we played okay. And winning away from home 4 goals is always a good result, whoever you play against. I don't think the performance was amazing, but we got the job done. Ipswich, for me, were very poor, really. I mean, that first 5 minutes, they could have scored a couple of goals, couldn't they? But after that, really, we took control of the match. I mean, Ipswich did get that goal before half time, which always makes me worry, because of the season we've had. And you always think that a team can come back, because they always have done this season. But they did have a go second half, Ipswich, but I never felt that we were going to concede. I was really happy with Danso's performance. I really like the look of him. I know it's early, but he loves to get stuck in. He's very physical. It's good that we've got him, because I think we needed him. I think if we could have had maybe Ben Davis or someone else, we might have struggled a bit more. So yeah, it was good. He's dominant player. Guys, what do you think of Danso so far?
His defender is what we need. He's not going to be beautiful on the eye. He's not going to be making 40-yard passes, but he wins his headers, he wins his tackles, and he gets in the right positions. So listen, he's going to be left exposed because we're playing this crazy system, but he is a good, solid centre-back.
Roadman, what do you think of Danso?
I mean, so far, he's done what he's needed to do. As a defender, he's actually performed not too bad. I mean, we've had worse defenders come into the club and not do what they're meant to do. Do you know what I mean? So far, I'm happy with him. He's, again, he's making good tackles. He's trying to pass. He's trying to go forward. And, yeah, I mean, what more can you say is, he's doing his job. Now, long term, who knows how he's going to carry on, but I'm happy with him at the moment. You know what I mean? I'm not like, oh my God, over the moon, but I'm happy with him.
Yeah, I think he's done all right, hasn't he? Obviously got battered in that first match against Liverpool, but the whole team played awful. Michael Danso, for you, I don't know if you knew the player before he came, but what's your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I knew a bit about him. I'm going to be shameless and say I knew about him from FIFA and Football Manager, right? I
enough.
knew that the player exists, and I knew roughly what he's rated like. So I was quite happy when we got him. I'm not going to lie and say I was watching Arcelons. I wasn't, right? But still, I think from what we've seen so far, I feel like he's just he does his job and that's it. But I appreciate the fact that he knows what his role in the team is and he does it to his utmost ability, right? Because I feel like sometimes we just focus too much on the fancy part of being a center back, playing out of the back, driving with the ball out of defense,
He did a bit of
doing
that,
this
didn't
and
he,
that.
Michael? He did a bit of that second
Like
half.
he has that in his locker, right? But I feel like the more of the focus of him playing so far was about the defensive side of the game, right? Actually clearing the ball, winning headers, being aggressive when he needs to, but he doesn't at least for now, right? I hope I don't jinx it, right? But it doesn't look as if he has a Bozo gene in him, like Romero, right? Romero tends to, get a bit fired up and do a stupid thing or two. Whereas so far with Danso, it looks that he's a bit calmer than him. So I appreciate the job that he's doing. I am really happy that we have him in the squad, and I think he provides much needed cover, especially now with Dragusin being injured for quite a while. I think we will make big use out of him. And yeah, I am happy
But
that
so
we got
far,
him.
so good, isn't it? Really,
Yeah,
with him,
so far so good.
good. Well, we got some tougher tests coming up, so we'll have a better look at him. Just a question in the chat, Rinsik, for the panel: would you rather have Craig Bellamy or Ange?
I think that's aimed at Roadman.
It is. I know Rinketic, so I know what he's doing. No, I don't want none of them. Like Bellamy, he's doing all right for Wales in a sense. He's kind of trying to change it up a little, but as an actual Premier League manager, not a hope in hell. I'd rather Ange. Not gonna lie, unfortunately. I'm not convinced by Bellamy at the moment. He's still got a lot to go yet.
Yeah, same here. Just a couple of people in the chat. Nige, Angie, Nutter. George Gray's doing a covering job for the team, gets thrown in at deep end. Obviously, he has made mistakes, but what do people really expect? The experienced players are hardly covering himself in glory. Fair comment?
Oh, 100%. Definitely a fair comment. I mean, he's a kid who's in a position he's never played in, asked there to play constantly, and he's getting chopped from one area to the next. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you look against Ipswich, he was on the right, Danzo was on the left. Why? Yeah. They played on the right and left anyway. It made no sense why to switch him over. And he got exposed a couple of times because of that, because he's young, he's not experienced. Danzo's experienced on right. Archie Gray's been experienced on the left. Why change that? It was, I don't know. So yeah,
he got done, didn't he, Gray? Didn't he? Got done early by their striker. What's his name? He got
a lap,
didn't he?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, he done him, and it was a bit worrying. But when the game settled down, we looked quite comfortable. You could tell the difference of quality between the two teams. Once we started knocking it about, and Son, as Michael said earlier, Son had a better game, didn't he? He was actually taking on his fullback. Now, has anybody actually looked at his positioning for that match? Because he seemed to be more of an inside forward in that game.
Yeah, he was cutting a lot more into the penalty area rather than going to the byline, right? Which I liked, and I've been trying to highlight the fact that I think we are kind of misusing some of our players, and for me, also the same thing applies to Johnson, which you guys talked about, which is I don't think he's a winger, and we are judging him purely based off of a position on a team sheet, right? We see the team sheet, we see him on the right side of that attack, so we automatically judge him by the winger's job, and I don't think his job in that team is to be the winger. He's there to just, he's basically like a pseudo striker, like a second striker for us, or something
I
like
agree.
that, right? That's not excusing his like deficiencies, right? I still think, you know, for that money that we spent on him, we could get a player that's his job and more, right? But I don't think we should be judging him on whether he takes on the player and, you know, and twists and turns and does nothing after that, right? Like, for example, Doku and Savio against Liverpool, right? They were twisting and turning Robertson and Trent all match, right? And nothing came off of it, right? Albeit partially because Haaland wasn't there, right? So they didn't have a big guy to aim at. But yeah, I appreciate his job. And same thing with Son, right? Coming back to the original point, I think we should be using Son as an inside forward. I don't think he has the physicality to play striker. I don't think he isn't just big enough to play striker, right? When you are faced with guys like Van Dijk or Konate, or even not to that level, but some, you know, like Anderson from Crystal Palace, Fulham. He plays for Fulham right now. Like Anderson from Fulham, right? He will eat him alive in the physical battle, right? Just because he's like 15 centimeters taller than him and bigger, right? So I don't think Son has the capability to play a striker, but we can use him off the left, coming inside, which is how he has been used by Conte, Jose, and other previous managers who made him one of the better inside forwards in the league, right? And I think we should continue with that. And I really like the fact that we saw exactly that in the Ipswich match.
Guys, I'd love to get up to. Sorry, Nigel, go on. You were going to say
Yeah,
something.
can I just ask you a quick question? How were the fullbacks? Were they inverted against Ipswich, or did they play wider?
I can tell you that we had. Let me just get it up now. It's annoying. I'm going to improve my tech because I want to get things like this on the screen. I just can't do it right now, but I will do because it's so interesting to like bring it up on the screen to show people. But Doggy, he was more kind of on the. He didn't invert as much. He more kept out on the left, and then on the other side with Spence, he was inverting. He was in that game. Coming in a bit more inside, so it's hard to really read into these statistics.
I just find that when we invert fullbacks, the wingers, as in Sonny or Johnson or Kulu, whoever's playing out wide, have to be really wide.
Yeah,
and then they're further away from goal. So Sonny, it's harder for Sonny to get in. We need Sonny and Johnson in that inside forward area, closer to goal. So they just need to drop a shoulder and shoot, or drop a shoulder and cross it in. When we're inverting, the wide men are so wide, they've got too far to go to get into the box or put a good ball in.
When Porro came on, he kept out. He was kept quite wide throughout the game when he came on, because there was a change, wasn't there, late on? Yeah, I don't know. I'm not convinced totally about it yet. If he is adjusting tactics, guys, Michael Roadman, do you think he's adjusting the tactics?
Go on, Robert.
Do you want to go for it? Oh yeah, go on then. Yeah. I don't think he's adjusting the tactics that much. If you watched earlier games where we played some of our better football, we've always had one player invert and one player stay out wide. Yeah, when it was either the left back or right back. For me, it's a big issue. Inverting any of them, for me, it's always a big issue because you haven't got that player to overlap. Right now, if you look at the days of Poch, right, when we had the wingers out on wide, then you had Walker and Rose. Walker and Rose wouldn't come in. Walker and Rose would go out. So it allowed the wingers to come in and invert themselves, which is where it goes into that position at the moment, is sticking our wingers so far away. Like I think it was Michael said, or Nige, sorry, sticking our wingers so far to the bylines that you just can't get them in all the time. And it's left to them in like a counter-attacking style of play where Sonny can get 1v1 with a player and get that ball across goal. But you're only getting that once or twice in a game. You know what I mean? Like actual proper free play to do that once or twice in a game. We need our left back and right back to overlap our wingers to give them more freedom on the ball. Some of Sonny's best goals in a Tottenham shirt is when he's allowed to come in and across goal. And if you look at Johnson, I know people are slating him in the comments and stuff like it's understandable, but for this system, please understand it's limiting Johnson. Go watch Forest and look how he played in a full counter-attacking system, and you'll see that he took on players. He was pacey. He scored screamers. He scored screamers goals. You know, so it's one of them. The system limits the players, but the system can work to win games. We've seen that, but it's hard because I don't think we've got the right players fully for the system, which is either down to the club, down to Ange, what have you. But for me, there's not been many tweaks. Once or twice he's done it where he's been like forced to, but overall, there's not been a major change. You know, like you see, say, if Liverpool lost to Van Dijk or Liverpool lost a player like that, they'd literally change the system completely to compensate for missing that player. We lose a player, we throw an 18-year-old kid there and expect them to do the exact same. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just like there's not been major change. And that's always been my biggest gripe with Ange. It's my biggest issue with him. There's never a plan B, C, or D. It's plan A, and then an interpretation of plan A with a lesser plan A, and then it keeps going like that. And it's just like, you know, change it up. You're meant to be a manager for many, many years. Surely you understand tweaking it a little bit here can shore your defense up. Again, Ipswich, when you look at that game, yes, we won 4-1. Great, fantastic. They smashed the ball at our goal, right? Yes, a lot weren't on target or anything, but you go give that to a Salah. You go give that to a Haaland or something like that many shots at your goal, they're going to have a field day. They really are. And that's there. You need to shore up the defense. And I think Spence helped being on the right. Udogie helped being on the left because they had that pace. They had that desire to get back. But when you put Porro there in that same thing and allowing him to invert, go look back at the games. He leaves that much space there. I'm surprised Elon Musk hasn't tried to land a rocket in it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's one of them. It's, yeah.
Yeah, I think we could talk all day about that, if Ange adjusts tactics or not. I mean, it's debatable, isn't it, really? Well, we'll see.
You know, Dan, what we were discussing about Son, right, and the fullbacks, I don't think it's necessarily even changing the tactics, right? I don't think you need to change the tactic. You just need to change like player instructions, right? Like, you know, when I don't know if you guys ever played like Football Manager or something, right? But when you order your fullback to just invert or stay out wide or whatever, right? I feel like, and I don't want to be that guy again and say that, you know, I was saying I was doing that, right? But I mentioned a couple of times, right, that Udogie and Porro at their previous clubs, Sporting and Udinese, they were playing out wide, right? They were the overlapping fullbacks, like Rodman mentioned, right? And we have Johnson and Son, who I think all four of us would admit are better inverting and actually taking on, just you know, shooting at goal and trying to finish the chances, right? So for me, it was always confusing why we try to invert Udogie and Porro and overlap with the wingers, right? Where I think all four players are suited to the opposite role, right? I think Porro delivers the ball really well. He has a nice cross on him. Same thing with Udogie, especially when you watch him at Udinese. And with Son, I would much rather see him closer to the box rather than out wide, right? So you don't necessarily have to change the tactical approach. You can still press as much as you do. You still have, you know, your forward line. You still have 5 forward players with like fullbacks, wingers, and a striker, right? It's just like, you know, they do this, right? Instead of being out wide, the fullbacks, they are inside. Instead of fullbacks being inside, they are out wide, right? But the roles don't change. It's just the player that does the role. And I think this is a big problem of Ange's, where he has his idea about the system that he wants to play, the system, or like the tactical setup or the player instructions, what he wants from his players, and he doesn't necessarily look at the strengths of the players that he has, right? Rather, you know, I want my fullback to invert, so I will force Udogie to invert, and I want my winger to be out wide and take on players, so I will force Son out wide to take on players, right? And this is really an issue in my opinion. And again, like, you know, we already mentioned Son, Johnson, the fullbacks. We can talk about Maddison, who I also don't think is necessarily being used up to, up to his strengths. And suddenly you find yourselves with half the team not doing the most desired job, the job that they fit the best, right? Which is my biggest gripe with Ange. This and the management of the squad in general, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of unanswered questions regarding Ange and how this team. This season has been crazy, isn't it? Really, there's so much to talk about regarding his tactics. There's so many defeats and whatever, but we'll get into that a bit later. Just kind of finishing off on the Ipswich game. I thought Ipswich, they did get a goal disallowed, but after that we seemed to take control of the game. 76th minute, it was Maddison who came on as sub. Do you think he was rested for the City game, guys? Because I was surprised he didn't start.
Since so,
I hope. I hope.
We'll find out tomorrow, won't we? I guess
he should be playing every game. But anyway, he did his little jink in the box, found Spence with a shot, deflected goal, 3-1. And then a little while later, there was a long ball up, and Scarlett flicked it onto Kulusevski, and he finished well, didn't he? On the right, cut inside, nice goal. But so that was it, really. Game done, 4-1. 3 points, and that slots that three wins in a row now. Did anyone else want to say anything about the Ipswich game before we move on to our kind of form?
I just want to quickly give a shout out to Brennan Johnson, because he's getting a lot of stick, and I think it's harsh. I think he's not your greatest player. He's not your player that's going to take on other players and excite you, get you off your seat. But David Clark saying that doesn't really fit Ange's system. I would say his output this season would show that he actually does fit Ange's system. Ange doesn't want players to get you off your seat. He wants players with end product, and Johnson's getting goals. So I would say he does fit it.
Look, if he's playing on the wing, it doesn't fit because he can't take on his man. But he is delivering with goals. Yeah. So it's one of those, isn't it? Like, for me, I would prefer a proper winger in that position, getting in decent crosses, taking on a man, exciting, breaking down low blocks. Like, if you think of Johnson's goals this season, who have they come against? Can anyone remember? I know he scored against City away. Has he scored against anyone else good?
Oh, God.
United away, I think he scored, but that's whether we count United as a good team, right?
Yeah,
they're not good.
Yeah.
So this is.
I'm not saying he's brilliant, but he is getting output. He is scoring goals for us. So at the end of the day, that's what he was brought in to do.
But he's got to do it against in the bigger games against a better opposition.
Absolutely.
And I think I need to go and have a look at that, because I've got a feeling that a lot of his goals have come against kind of lower teams. Maybe that's harsh, but look, I expect a winger to be able to take on their man, deliver. But then there's that thing about there's a lot of wingers, like you said, Roan Man, that a lot of wingers flatter to deceive, right? They manage to take on a man. Go on, Michael.
I have the list if you want. He scored he scored against Brentford since the beginning of the season. Yeah. Brentford, United, Brighton, Villa, City, Fulham, Wolves, and 2 goals against Ipswich. That's in the league.
Okay, so there's some good teams in there that he scored against. So, yeah, look, we'll see. How many goals has he got in the league now?
In the league, it's 8. Wait, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 goals.
9 goals. So look, it's one of them, isn't it? If you like him, you like him. If you don't, does he fit the system? Who knows? It's I don't know. We'll see. Maybe judge it at the end of the season.
Yeah, can I just say something about that, right? So when people say fits the system, yeah, like you're saying, right, it's like a double-edged sword for him, right? The system doesn't complement him, right? Let's say that the system doesn't complement him.
That makes
if
sense,
you look at if you look at Wales games, if you look at when he was at Forest and stuff like that, it was Forest when he used to play out. I can't remember, but if you look at the games when he used to play, if you look at them, he wasn't on the line. He wasn't forced to stay out wide. He always came in at least 10, 15 yards from that line. So he had a bit more space. And when you're counter-attacking or you're playing where you've got the balls over the top and that, it complemented him. He was allowed to run. He's allowed to come at a defender where he's not got only a couple of yards either side of him to try and pass the defender. He had more of a yard. So he could go a bit further out. He could go a bit further in. He had that more of a chance. So the system doesn't complement him. But what the system does do is complement his finishing, his positioning. The system does allow him to basically fake a defender. If you watch his movement in the box, right, and everyone say it's just a tap-in, show me another player, right, in the Premier League, in Europe at the moment, who has his ability and his IQ in the box to completely miss his defender, completely take his defender out and be there every single time. Because Ange wants his wingers to do that. If you look, when Verma was playing, what does he have Verma doing? Getting past his man, ball across the box. What Brennan does, getting on the byline, ball in the box. They're not over the top. They're not coming back in. They're across goal, because majority of the time when a ball's coming at speed across goal, it's hard to defend because a defender's worried about giving away an own goal. He makes the wrong touch, he's giving away our own goal. We've seen it when we've done it a couple of times. We put the ball in the box and the defenders gave an own goal. So there's always that. And then, like I said about the Ipswich one, the defenders realised Johnson was getting behind them, so they dropped back and allowed space in front of the goal. That's not a tap-in. If that's a tap-in, then when does it become not a tap-in? He was many yards away from the goal and still put the ball in the back of the net. So it's a double-edged sword. Like you said, Dan, you know what I mean? You got to take him how he is. If you like him, you like him. If you don't, you don't. He's Marmite, innit? But I'll take a player scoring goals that wins you games over a player who can get on YouTube for some highlights. That's my take on it, really.
I agree with you. A lot of what you said there, and I just think that, you know, when we talk about our forward line, I mean, I've got to be honest. I think they're average. You know, that I rate them all as an average, even though we do score quite a lot of goals. I don't know. This is what I see. And when we talk about output, Johnson has output. Solanke has output. And I think there was something I saw today on X that we're the only team who've got 4 or 5 forward players who scored 10 or so. I can't remember exact assists, but
5 players over 10
5
goals.
players. Yeah. So something is working, but then, you know, I don't know, man. This season's been crazy. I can't trying to get my head around it all, man. It's a subject, isn't it? Really, we'll probably have to spend a bit more time on.
You're right, though. And none of the players get us off our seats. None of the strikers, none of the forwards, you know, get us off our seats.
That's
like
true.
We want to, but
yeah, that's another thing, isn't it? We talked about last week and throughout shows we've had. I just want to bring up David's comment here. He said Maddison has played 700 less minutes than Kulusevski in the Premier League, yet has had many goals and assists. You keep saying goals and end product. Well, that's Maddison. Anybody want to say anything about Maddison before we kind of move on?
Yeah, I mean, I can start with that if that's all right with everyone else.
Of course, man. Go for it.
For me, Maddison's the same as like a Johnson. Yeah, if you want to put it, he's the midfield kind of like a Johnson. But yes, Maddison can take on players and do stuff like that. But what I find frustrating with Maddison, big up Eugene, what I find frustrating with Maddison is majority of the time when he's trying to take on them players, he's not looking at the players that are free. If you look at his games, there's been many a times a Bergvall will be out wide and he'll just have that space there and it makes sense to make that pass. Instead, Maddison chooses to do his turns, tries to take on a man, because for me, that's what Maddison wants the fans to see. Maddison wants to be that flashy, that, that player who looks good on the ball and all that. And it sometimes can be his downfall because a lot of time he has missed the ball, lost the ball. He's had players come at him, take the ball off him and put us under pressure. But he's done what Johnson's done. He's put the ball in the back of the net. He's assisted a player. Again, you don't win games by being flashy or being skillful. You win games by getting that ball and either giving it to a player to put it in the back of the net or you put it in the back of the net yourself. And, it's what we've done. If you look at us, I think we're the second highest in the league for goals scored. Our issue is, and unfortunately it's a big issue, is we're really, really bad at the back end. And that's where our biggest issue is. We can score goals. We can put the ball in the back of the net. Second best in the league. We just can't defend. And bits like what Maddison does and what other players does. I'm not saying it's all down to Maddison, but when he does all these twists and turns and tries to be skillful on the ball and it doesn't come off, because it's in midfield, you're immediately under pressure. Then you're allowing a team to come at a defense that's already poor, that's already struggling, and they're high up with this high line. It's just a nightmare waiting to happen. And it's not just him who does that. Bergval's done it. Sar's done it. Basuma's done it probably more than anyone. Benson Core's done it. But for me, Maddison is like, you know, like a Johnson, you know what I mean? Where he's doing a job. He's just not doing the other job as he should do. Do you get what I mean? If that makes sense in that way?
Yeah, so his output this season is in 33 games across all competitions. He's had 10 goals and 7 assists, which is not bad. And he hasn't even played every game, has he? He's come off as sub, come off the bench. I just think Madders, and he's been injured. Yeah, that's true, Michael. And so I think he's the sort. We haven't got a player like him. He needs to be playing week in, week out. Obviously, a lot of people question that the fullbacks are getting in his space, and you know, we constantly have that conversation throughout the season. Give him the ball, give him time and space, and he can make things happen. I just think that he needs to play every game, and he's going to have bad games. He's going to go missing in games, but that's the type of player he is, isn't he? He's a bit of a maverick. Would you agree, Michael? Were you a fan of Maddison?
I'm a huge fan of Maddison, right? And I was really happy when we signed him. Unfortunately, I think Jesus Christ, I'm repeating myself, but I would say I think we are misusing him a bit, right? When I was watching him at Leicester, I think his biggest quality wasn't being a deep-lying playmaker and spreading the ball around. I think his biggest quality is that intricate, like, you know, quick passing between the players and just, you know, dropping a shoulder, just getting past one player, laying it off, you know, getting fouled even, right? I know it sounds funny when I say that someone's skill is getting fouled, right?
No, but it's a good point. It's a good point because that brings free kicks, gives us chances.
Right? Exactly. And I think the closer you put Maddison to the box, the better, right? I think he is that. I would even call him somewhat of a shadow striker, you know, the guy that plays behind the striker, and he contributes a lot with the goals. And I think we've seen a couple of performances of him this season, especially like the one that comes to mind immediately for me is the Manchester City away game, where he was actually doing that, right? He was the shadow striker. He was making runs from in front of the penalty box into the penalty box, getting at the end of crosses and scoring goals, right? And unfortunately, I feel like we are trying to make Eriksen out of him. I feel like we, especially we as Spurs fans, we have this image of Eriksen as a deep-lying playmaker who also, like, of course, Eriksen also contributed in the final third, right? But I think they are different players. And I personally think because, you know, when you look at the shape of our midfield is one, like, you know, 6, although it's not really a 6, but, you know, to make it easier, I will call it a 6, right? And 2 8s, and they look like, you know, they look like that, right? You have one guy deeper and 2 up top. And I feel like Maddison playing the left side of that, you know, double 8, I feel like he's tasked with a lot of dropping deep, taking the ball from the back line, spreading it around, running with it, right? Which I don't think should be his job. I would much rather see our midfield in the other shape, 2 guys behind him and Maddison in front, right? Where we would have Bissouma, Bentancur, Sarr, Bergval, whichever combination you want, right? But both of them getting the ball from the defense and playing it into Maddison, right? Where he's further forward. So I think there is an amazing player in there. I really loved watching him in Leicester. I actually really like watching him even playing for us. I just feel like there are parts of games where he's just getting physically bullied in the midfield, not necessarily close to the box, right? And we are losing the ball because of that. And I think it puts a bad spotlight on him. Deservedly so, right? Because, like, not deservedly, but, you know, yes, we concede chances because of that, right? You know, the opposition turns the ball over because of him losing the ball. But I don't necessarily put all the blame on him, right? yeah, I would love to see him play more advanced, and I think he's one of the better players we have in that team, and I think he should be playing much more than he is right now.
I think we could get so much more out of him if we had a different coach and we had a different system. It's definitely good. And Ange has not really fancied him at periods through the season, has he? He's, I think they've had some kind of bust up or falling out because he's dropped him so much. Nigel, you're a big fan of Maddison, aren't you?
I love Maddison. He's easily our best player. We should be. I know Eugene would love to hear this. We should be building a side around him.
Eugene, Maddison out.
For me, he's the one player who can unlock defenses. 14 GA in 24 league games, of which most of them he's probably played an hour at a time. It says it all. He's our main creator. Look at the third goal. It's his skill. Dropping his shoulder in the box, playing that nice little 1-2 with Spence to set up the third goal. And yeah, he's our main man. We need to be building a side around him.
I hope he starts tomorrow. We'll get into it later, but he better start. We need him in the team. Okay, look, we could talk about all these players, couldn't we? And the people and the comments in the chat. We could go on. There's so many good talking points in the chat as well. And David Clark's talking about Solanke. I mean, I would agree. We don't play to his strengths as well. So many different things we could get into with this team. But look, let's move on. Now, Roadman, I've got a question for you. Could you give us some context on those 3 wins? And we're gonna go on to now our Spurs back, and people in the chat as well. Could you give us if you think we're back or not? I just want to gauge the watchers, and and then we're going to discuss it. So Roadman, what do you think? Give us some context on those 3 victories.
I mean, Brentford, it was Brentford, United, and then Ipswich, weren't it? Am I right in that? It was Brentford first, we beat, and then...
That's right.
I mean, Brentford, okay, I'll take it. It's a good win. Brentford are a strong team. Frank's got them playing very well. And at the position we were, it was a decent win. United, I expected us to win. They are a bigger mess than us at the moment. I mean, I think I said with you, Dan, on Matty's show, United are a bigger mess than us, and they're only getting worse. You know what I mean? We've had our issues.
Was that before the game? Was that after the game, right?
Yeah, that was before that. I said it before the game that United were a bigger mess than us, and you know what I mean? They are. And unfortunately, if you looked at us in United play, and my brother's a United fan, so I talked with him after the game, and yes, United are bad, but if you look at that game, it was 2 teams who were bad playing against each other. We just had that most clinical edge and got that 1 goal very early on with Maddison because Onana spilled the ball. That, for me, it shows you where they are, where a team like United are that bad, and when we played them, we didn't exactly complement ourselves with that game. Ipswich game, yes, it was a great win. 4-1. Ipswich are playing well. They're playing well, but they're not winning games. That's just, it is, they're playing well, but we lost against them, and we had a stronger defense back then. Let's say that. If you look at that last Ipswich game, we had stronger players than we do now. And it was a good win. But this thing about, Spurs are back, and just got us back. Look, we got players back, and look at us winning games. We're back is when we end this season, right, where we've won every single game. Right? Simple as that. That's how you got to look at it, is we've lost so many games. So the only way we're back is if we win all our games, which compensates for all the games we've lost. Do you get what I mean? Because other than that, this season is meaningless. If we go lose now against City, we go lose a game after that, we go lose in Europe, well, how are we back? It's impossible to say, because we beat 3 teams. One, pretty much a decent, okay team, but still they're struggling in defence at times in Brentford. An absolute shambles of a United team. And then an Ipswich team that play well, but basically have lost all season. I mean, we were the first team they beat in what was it? Something like 10, something like games.
Game week 11, I think it was.
11 it was, yeah. We were the first team they beat. So, this thing that we're back and all that is, come on, people are just, what it is people are happy to finally see wins. People are happy to finally see the team doing something other than walking off that pitch with a loss. Everyone's happy. Everyone's excited, yeah. But
I get that. I get that. I totally get that, man. Like,
I'm not.
we've had the crap
I'm not.
season, man. I can
Yeah.
get people being happier with wins because it's been so
100%.
bad. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. You've got to take wins. You know what I mean? When you're in a mess, which we are, you know, injuries, yes, injuries affect you. They do. You know what I mean? You can't say they don't. Look, you say Lucky United, they were rubbish before injuries, but it's getting even worse for them now, to be fair. But yeah, when it comes to injuries, they do affect your team massively, especially when you lose the players we have. But if you look at prior to the injuries, were we much better? No. You know what I mean? People are excited Romero's back and all that. Did he have that much of a difference prior to the injuries and, you know what I mean, keeping out goals? Van der Ven and Romero were our defenders when we lost against Ipswich. You know, so you just got to look at it like that. You know what I mean? This season's been a mess. I don't think Ange was necessarily backed as he should have been. Yes, you can have 100 players bought for you, but that doesn't mean they're the right players. You know what I mean? Our owner's going down a route of wanting to be Brighton, you know what I mean, while charging fans to expect us to be City. You know, it's just one of them at the moment. So I'm not going to get into the whole Levy thing and all that, but you understand that our season's a mess.
No, that was a good assessment, Roadman. Really, really good assessment of it. I agree so much of what you said. Let's move to Michael. So, Michael, 3 victories. Does that mean there's suddenly a positive change to our season? And does that give you any hope that we can go on a run?
So, the first part of the question is like, are we back? For me, it's way too early to judge that. As Rodman said, right? We beat 1 okay team and 2 really bad teams, right? So I'm not getting, you know, I won't get overexcited because of that. I fully understand people who are happy that we won. So am I, right? I am really happy that, you know, for once Spurs aren't the final nail in the coffin, you know, when you would have a bad day and they just make it even worse, right? Because there were points in the previous 2 months where I couldn't be asked to watch the games. I was watching them because I had nothing better to do, right? But it didn't give me any pleasure, right? And I wasn't even getting angry when we lost, right? You know, we lost, the game finished, I was just turning off the TV and getting on with my life, right? Just a bit sadder that we lost, but, you know, it wasn't, you know, for me, the worst part about being a fan is if you are so down in the dumps with your team that they don't even make you angry when they lose. For me, that's the worst feeling that can happen to a fan, where you don't even care how your team does. And I was like that for the previous 2 or 3 months. So I am really happy to see us win. And whether, you know, the league season is done, right? Let's not kid ourselves. It would take a miracle for us to end up in a European spot with the amount of games we still have to play in the league, right? But I think what matters is just to get the morale of the team up, right? Because they've been losing so much that suddenly now with the 3 wins on the bounce, right? It's actually, by the way, it's 2 wins on the bounce because we lost the 2 cup games between Brentford and United, right? Yeah. If you really want to be nitpicky, but I get the point, right? It's 3 games in the league that we won on the spin, and it definitely makes them feel better, right? And we still have 1 competition that we can play for, right? And I don't necessarily see us as the favorites for that competition, but I feel like there is a chance to go far, and the further you go, the closer you are to the trophy, right? And I think they need that league form to stabilize, to actually make them believe that they can beat some better teams. And you have to start with beating the teams that are worse than you, which we actually struggled this season, right? Yeah. I think against the current bottom 5, United is the only team we've beaten twice, which is a shambles, right? But you have to start somewhere, and I am really happy that we won those 3 games, right? And happy personally because they actually made me smile with the wins, and also happy for them. I'm happy for the team that we have something to cheer for, right? Again, it's too early to say if we are back or not, because tomorrow we might as well lose 4-0 to City and we will be back in the dumps again, right? but you might as well win against City. And if you win against City, then it's 4 wins on the spin in the league, right? And suddenly you can, start saying, "Oh, there is
we'll be
there is a
super
bit of
back
form."
then, won't we? Super,
Yeah,
super.
there will be super back, right?
Yeah.
No, but on a serious note, right? If we beat City tomorrow, it's a good team that we beat, right?
Yeah.
I don't care how bad people want to make City, right? They are still fourth. They are still a really good team, right? Yes, they have their problems this season. They are struggling in certain areas, but they are still a quality team. So if we beat them, brilliant step forwards, right? I fully appreciate the fact, and then we can start the conversation whether we are back or not, right? But then it's AZ Alkmaar after that, and then it's Bournemouth after that, and then we will see, right? If
how long will we back last? This is the thing, isn't it? How long will it last? Now, brilliant points, Michael. Really good points. And Nige, so what do you think it is, Nige? Why do you think people have forgotten about the games before these 3 wins, in a row? I mean, we'd lost, 13 in the league, and we're out of the domestic cups. We've had some embarrassing defeats. Even when we had, like Roadman, you said, even like when we had our almost fully fit team, there's obviously been no progression this season. What is it all about, Nige, with the fan base? It's not everyone, but certain people in the fan base, they like to get excited quite easily.
I mean, we're all fans, right? I mean, this is why we do it. We're all football fans, and for the majority of football fans, it's about passion, it's about emotion. So when you win a game, obviously, you get emotional, you're happy. Just like when you lose a game, you get emotional, you're sad. I'm looking at the league table. I think that's all it is. I just think fans are excited that we're winning games again. Now they're looking forward to the Europa League. We've got a few injuries coming back. Maybe things are changing. But I'm looking at the league table, and Michael's right. The league's done. We're currently 13th because Palace are winning. We are 7 points off Fulham, who are drawing 1-1. If Fulham go on to win, we'd be 9 points off the top 10. So we are quite a way behind currently.
We are. Anybody else want to make any comments?
That goal difference looks so funny when you when you show the table, right, and you see that big plus 15. Everyone around us is in single digits or on a negative, right, and we have plus 15. But yeah.
It's really strange, isn't it? It's really, really unusual, that this team, isn't it? It's like we can be brilliant and then we can be so bad. And this is it, isn't it? This is it, Roadman. Anything you want to add to what Nige said and that question I asked him?
What was the question? Just so I could refresh.
It was just like the fan base getting carried away after 3 victories. And we've talked about the context with those 3 wins. Brentford, I felt, battered us throughout the game, and it's just were poor finishing from them. Man United are not a good team. And even them, they could have got something out of it. They missed 2 big chances. And then Ipswich are bottom 3. They're not having a good season. So the fan base thinking we're back after those particular 3 victories, it's a bit... It's funny. I find it funny because I'm totally not thinking we're back at all.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Again, fans are just wanting to see wins. Fans are just wanting to have some form of joy. Am I skipping?
No.
Sorry, am I skipping here?
No, you're fine, man.
Is everything fine? Yeah,
totally
my
fine.
internet was a bit glitchy then. For me, fans are just getting excited because we're seeing a win. It's like when you know what I mean, in life, yeah. If you're getting just rubbish every day of your life and you get that one day that's great, you take that one day. You want to feel that bit of happiness. You want to feel that bit of excitement for that one day because your previous days have been rubbish, and you don't know what the next day is going to be. You can never see tomorrow. So they're taking these games as something great. They want to feel like the club's back. They want to feel like Ange is doing well. They want to feel like the players doing well, and they want to be able to say that. They just want to sit there and just express that. Oh yeah, we've had wins. We're getting there. We're going forward. We're doing great, and they're allowed that. You've got to. Some fans need that in their life. Do you know what I mean? I see a lot of people slate fans on X and other social media because they're excited. They say, "Oh look, we're back" and all that. Well, you don't know what their life's like. Unfortunately, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes if they're someone who sits at home every day. They haven't got nothing outside of football. So they're grasping onto the fact that our team that we all chose to support. Not one person on our life forced us. We all decided to have this life of up and down depression of Spurs or a win and a loss and all that. They just want that form of excitement. They just want that saying that my team's winning, you know? They don't want to sit there every day. And like people like us who do on YouTube and stuff like that, we don't sit there every day going, oh, another loss. You want to be excited and say, yeah, we got to win. Regardless if we play good, bad, if it was against a good team, it was against a bad team, you can only win what's in front of you. So just, yeah, let them. If they want to think we're back, if they want to sit there and be happy, excited, then great. That's not a problem. Because again, you don't know what's going on behind their life. You know, you don't know what's behind their closed doors. People grasp onto football like people grasp onto NFL. People grasp onto hockey. People grasp onto Formula One and stuff like that because they need that in their life. They need to escape from their life. So yeah, for me, let them have that. Me personally, again, I said previously, let's see at the end of the season, if we finish in a good position, if we win Europa, because I'm sorry, Ange said it himself, I always win in my second season. You've only got one chance of it now, mate. So you spoke, you opened your mouth, you talked the talk, go win the Europa League then. That's me.
Yeah,
there.
man. Look, Roadman, you know, you made some really nice comments then about the general fan and what's going on at home. You know, they could just be living for the football. And, you know, and I don't really want to kind of put my question to people like that. It's more the crazy takes that you see on social media.
Yeah.
The crazy takes. And we're going to talk about a couple soon. Just some realistic. We're going to break it down, because maybe you guys think it is realistic. I'd like to hear from you guys and people in the chat as well. So moving on from that, do you think we can go on a run? So let me get the fixtures up now and everybody to comment and everybody in the chat as well. Let me just get our fixtures coming up in the next...
Dan, in the meantime, if I can just add a bit more context, right?
Of course you can.
You know, I was on Dave the Irish Hotspur show, fan show yesterday, right? And we are talking about like a similar topic about, you know, whether we are back and all that stuff. And he asked me a really good question. He said whether Ange is vindicated when he was talking about the injuries, right? Because we are getting some players back and, you know, we started winning in the league. And whether he's vindicated with his comments, when I get my players back, we will start, you know, playing back to our standard, right? And I personally think, of course, that Ange was talking way too much about the injuries. It was as if that was the only reason that, you know, our form was this bad, only the injuries. It wasn't only that. I think there were plenty of other issues, some of them stemming from him. But it got me thinking, right? Because with the context of the excitement in the fan base about the performances, right? I feel like there were a lot of fans that were saying that when we get our players back, we will start playing better. And as much as I don't think those three performances where we won were the greatest, you can actually agree that we started playing a bit better, and we started winning. So in a sense, those fans and Ange are vindicated. And I think that supports the positive feeling about the club, right? Because a lot of people were really banking on those players coming back, and right now they see the fruits of the trust they put in that statement. So I think that's partially why there is so much excitement in the fan base, right?
Because there's a lot of people, Michael, who believe in Ange. They really like him as a manager. A hell of a lot of the fan base. You know, I think sometimes we forget, because there's a lot of kind of Ange out on YouTube, social media, but there is a lot of people, they listen to him and they believe him. They think, oh, that's the reason why we're not getting the results. But, you know, it's a bit deeper than that, I think. And Ange, and like you said, Michael, Ange banging on about the injuries, it's all well and good, but what about looking at himself and how he's managed his team throughout the season and last season? He never takes it on himself and say, I've learned a lot, I could do things differently. He just blames it on injuries, just so clear cut like that, and it's a lot more to it. But no, so good comments there, Michael. It is an interesting question. So going back about going on a run, so we've got obviously City tomorrow. which we're going to talk about soon. And then after that, we have the AZ match, right? Next week. Is that next Thursday?
Yeah,
think,
next
guys?
Thursday we play AZ, and then we play Bournemouth on Sunday, and then AZ again on Thursday next week, right? In 2 weeks.
That's right. And then there's a break, isn't there? There's the FA Cup weekend this weekend, right? So we've got no game. So yeah, AZ, Bournemouth, AZ again, and then we go to Fulham, and I've just finished this fixture away to Chelsea. So when we talk about going on a run, guys, let's start off with Nigel. Just start off with you with this one. Do you think we can go on a run with that set of fixtures?
No. I think, well, listen, tomorrow, who knows? We got a good record against City. So I would never rule us out, but obviously City are City. So they can beat anyone on their day. That's going to be a really tough game. Not looking at the
It's not
Europa
embarrassing
League.
losing to City, is it, really?
No, of course
You know
not.
what I mean?
No.
On any given day, if you take that game in isolation, losing to City can happen to anybody. So I wouldn't really hold the team accounts for that and Ange, because they're better.
No.
City are
Yeah, for me,
straight out
for
better.
me, the big game is the Bournemouth one at home. Obviously, we've already lost to them away. They're having a really good season, but they are starting to slowly drop off a little bit, I've noticed. So I'd expect us to beat Bournemouth. And then we always lose to Fulham, especially away. And we always lose to Chelsea. So
What's that?
I'm not
One winning
expecting
4?
too much.
Or 2, maybe
Yes.
2, possibly. Bournemouth at
Maybe
home.
2.
And then the Europa League game, I think it's a very winnable fixture. Both of them, or getting through anyway. I don't think there's any excuse for us not to beat that team. I'm sorry, over 2 legs, especially having the home leg over the return leg at home. Roadman, what's your kind of thoughts on that run? Can we go on a run, or I don't know. I don't think so.
I mean, yeah, I don't. I'll tell you. I'll be able to tell you tomorrow. Let's see how we do against City. For me, if we go to City and manage to beat them in a good way, I'm not talking about, you know what I mean, a scrappy goal or something like that. I mean, in a really good, proper way where the team's playing, they're energetic, they're fighting for every ball, they're, you know what I mean, playing really good top football, then I'll say they're starting to come together and maybe we could go on a run. But for me, I think the vital games are the Europe games against Akma. If we can go to their ground and walk away with a result in a good way, and even if it's just like, I know I said scrappy before, but as long as we walk away with a result, regardless of how we get that result, I think that confidence will start building up, you know? And it's not too disillusional to think that we could actually go on a run. It doesn't mean we're going to go end the league amazingly or we're going to win the Europa League, but we've got a bit of confidence at the moment. Yes, the teams we beat are not exactly, you know, top of the tier of the leagues and stuff like that, but we've lost against these teams as well.
A win's a win.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, we lost against Ipswich. We went there 4-1. Now people can say, "Oh yeah, but the bottom of the league and all that." They beat us. Let's not be disillusioned with that. They beat us, so we beat them. Let's see how we do against City. Go to Akma, beat them, and yeah, there could be a really good run. Chelsea is struggling at the moment. They had a start of their season was great. Everyone was thinking they were going to get up there and, you know what I mean, challenge Liverpool, but they've dropped off massively. Bournemouth, again, they're starting to get tired. You can see their players to feel that fatigue and they're struggling, you know what I mean? And I think that's maybe where it'll be a positive for us, is we've gone through that fatigue, we've gone through that struggle, but we're starting to get our players back. We're allowing players rest. Maddison getting rest. We're allowed Porro getting rest. Players like that are allowing themselves to have that little break, not play every game. And they're the type of players that could, you know what I mean, come in and make that one ball. How many times has Porro been really dreadful through a game, but he's made that one vital pass that's put a player in and got us a goal? So there's little aspects of that. You know what I mean? People think football is just straightforward. It's not. There's many, many little things that can just change a game drastically and just change a whole season drastically. So this could be where all them other teams that have been free of injuries, free of fatigue, free of everything, are now starting to feel it, whereas we have gone through all that. So now we're fresher, we're more up for it, and the football we play can be damaging, especially against fatigued teams. You've seen that when we played Elfsborg. right? We had 3 kids who were full of energy, full of just wanting a desire to win and play and show the manager something, and their defense was knackered throughout the whole game.
I like the way
And
you're
they
flipping it on
absolutely
its head,
got hammered by
Roadman.
kids. You know?
You're,
I want Roadman in charge of Tottenham.
Roadman
Get him in.
is flipping the game on its head
Yeah.
completely, and he's giving
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
You're
No, but
honestly giving
that's the
me
thing.
Uno reverse card. Uno
some
reverse card.
hope. Honestly, Roadman, there's some excellent points.
Yeah, but
Honestly, and look, let me.
yeah,
let
but
me
I've
just
been
come in
allowed
here.
to see this though. Yeah, yeah.
Go on. Sorry, Roadman. Finish off. What are you gonna say?
No. I was sorry. I was just gonna say, like, it's all these losses and everything. I haven't been so, you know what I mean, wanting to sit there and watch every game. So you kind of get your whole mindset in it. I've kind of sat back, like Michael said, you just kind of lose that emotion towards games. So you kind of be able to see it from a point of view of not literally sitting there and trying to intricately break down why your team's losing games. You just kind of go, okay, whatever. We lost. I'm going off to watch telly, or I'm going off to, I don't know, have some food or something like that. You don't let it just sit in your mind and try. So when you do that, you can come back and see, well, hold on a minute. Can there be a chance for us? Can we do this? Can we do that? A player coming back, a player this. You're not sitting there going, well, why is there a player not coming back? When you get angry and you get upset, you let emotion take over critical thinking of actually how football is. I think a lot of fans have lost their way in that. And I know it sounds daft, but you kind of lose your way is like, you know, you look at other teams, right? Say Arsenal when they lost Saliba, yeah? It can completely derail their entire season. They were fighting at the original point of where they were fighting for a title. They lost Saliba. It completely derailed their season. Well, we lost more than that, and yet we're sitting here going, "Why is Ange a crap manager?" Well, but you're saying that one thing is saying that, but because you're so ingrained in what's happening at that, you don't sit back and just say to yourself, "You know what? Hold on a minute. Well, this could happen. This could happen. This could be a bit different. This could be better now." When you just think. Not overly positive, but you just have a different aspect of thinking of how
it's about balance, isn't it? Balance.
Yeah,
balance.
Exactly. That's it. It's about balance. You know what I mean? Don't be one way. Don't just think, oh, Ange's a crap manager. This player's crap. That player's crap. Just sit back and go, you know what? Hold on a minute. Let's not emotion affect me. I'm going to look at it as if I'm not a fan. Do you get what I mean? If that makes sense to everyone, it's like, I'm not sitting there and letting the badge affect my thinking of how the season's gone and how it could go. So in a way, I'm kind of positive that we'll go and beat City. I'm positive we will progress in Europe, and hopefully to the final. I really believe with the players we got coming back, and especially ones that want to perform. Look at Maddison. Look at, you know what I mean, other players. Odebert, Tell, right? Everyone's slating him at the moment. He's a 19-year-old kid, right? And he showed more passion in the past couple of games than players who have been here for 5 years. You know what I mean? And people are already writing him off. But then you don't know. He gets into Europe, finds his feet, and starts banging in goals left, right, and centre. No one's got a magic ball. No one can predict.
Right, man, where are you getting this positivity from, man? It's great.
I've had a good couple of days, so why not? I'm just but for me, it's I've had enough crap and negativity with Tottenham, right? It's not, I'm not sitting here and being disillusioned that we've been crap. I'm not sitting here saying the players coming back and means we're going to win everything. I'm just looking for the positive, because why not? What is so wrong with having that slight bit of positivity in your life to say, yeah, we'll go and beat City. If we lose, okay, sound. Well, we've been crap before, so it doesn't matter. But if we win, oh, well, I was positive over the win. You know what I mean? It's just, you do that in life, don't you? So why not?
I think it's great outlook on it. And it's, look, I'm the sort of person, I need to see it first. I need to see it. Because I'm not convinced, but I get where you're coming from on many of those points. Now, I got my predictions wrong. When we look back at those 3 defeats, now, I thought we could get something against United. I didn't think we'd beat Brentford, and I thought it'd be a struggle against Ipswich. But, the players, they got the results, so I was wrong. Yeah, I'm okay to admit that. I was wrong. Now, I see the real test coming up now. I think AZ, as I said, I think it's very winnable. Man City is winnable because we've got such a great record against them. Yeah, we're just their bogey team, so you can't rule out not winning that game. Bournemouth at home, I was worried, but the injuries are caught up a bit. Maybe they've dropped off slightly, but still a tough game. And it's no guaranteed there. And we don't know what's going on with Chelsea when we get to like the 2nd of April. They might have picked up again. And Fulham are Fulham, tough team to play against. Only lost, I think, 6 times this season away. It's tricky. So look, it's all to play for. I mean, it depends on your mindset, isn't it? And this is like what I said at the beginning of the show. So many fans have different outlooks. I just think it's just been a horrible season with going through all those defeats. And when we had the team available and we still were struggling, for me, it started off inconsistent at the beginning of the season. Win one, lose one. Win one, lose one. Then we've got the injuries started piling up, coming up to November, December, January. Then we just completely tailed off, and it was just defeat after defeat. We couldn't win a game. We looked absolutely dreadful. And all of us here are questioning Ange's system, Ange's tactics, not players like Jed Spence at right back when he was there, ready to go. Just so many different, questions we all had about how this team, and it wasn't just this season, it was the previous season as well where we fell off. And even last season, we were even in the running for a Champions League spot right till the end. And if Ange would have just adjusted his tactics in some of those games, we could have been in the Champions League. Look, the summer window was a complete failure for me. And it's been a crazy, very difficult season. But look, we can always, fans, hope for better times. That's all we can hope for, yeah? Even though I'm critical of Ange, I'm critical of the team, I want them to win. Yeah, and I will be behind them. And as I said, I'm not convinced yet, and we'll see how it plays out. Michael, want to come in after that?
Yeah, with your original question when you asked about whether the run can be formed from here, right? No matter what happens in the next 4 games, I know when the run ends. It's when we go to that bloody Stamford Bridge and we lose there, right? Because we always do. I don't know what the deal is with us playing Chelsea, right? Just the most stupid shit will happen against them. The most ridiculous circumstances. I don't know, Caicedo will, kick one of our players in the nuts, not get sent off again, right? And then Romero will brief on someone, gets sent off, right? Because that's usually what happens against Chelsea. So, I know where the winning run ends, right? Whether we will be winning until then, I don't know, right? But I have to, I completely agree with what Rodman said about the confidence, right? That's why I said I don't necessarily take much pride and much faith from those 3 wins, right? But for those players, it means a lot to win, right? And football is a lot about momentum. It's a lot about mentality, right? And not only about the team as a whole, but also individual players and their individual performances. And I think the best example of that is Anthony at Betis. Look at guys, watch him play at Betis, right? And compare that to what we saw at United, right? Two complete,
differently.
It's hard to believe it's the same guy, right? And it can happen to whole teams, right? I think that Forest team under Nuno, they aren't playing anything special, right? When you watch them play, they just low block it, hoof it up the pitch to Chris Wood, he lays it off to the winger. But when you actually watch them play, they aren't like a magnificent team, right? It's not like they are out playing.
Michael, can I just stop you for 1 sec? Because Roadman's got to jump, and I just wanted to say a big thank you, man, for coming on. You've been great, man.
It's been a pleasure. I do apologise. Just to let everyone know, I got to take my dad to hospital. He's got a bit of an issue. So, yeah, honestly, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. This is my debut on the channel, and yeah, it's been great to have a chat with you all and finally talk a bit of Spurs, but in a slightly positive light, you know what I mean, in a way. But yeah, big up the chat. Please like and subscribe, everyone. It's a great channel, and these guys are great. So appreciate you all. Thank you very much, and I'll definitely jump on again, Dan. So big up Nige, big up Matty.
Take care, man.
Michael, sorry.
Subscribe to
I see
Roadman
Matty
as well,
in the
guys,
chat.
if you haven't.
Yeah.
No
big
worries,
up everyone.
man.
Catch you later. See you later.
Take care. Sorry, Michael.
What a goal by Kluivert, by the way. Again, he just bet 1-1. Brighton, Bournemouth 1-1. Chelsea are winning 2-0. Fulham are winning 2-1 against Wolves, and Crystal Palace are winning 2-1 against Villa. But yeah, coming back to my topic, right?
So you're talking about Nottingham Forest and Nuno and what he's getting out of that squad of players.
Yeah, basically my main point with Nottingham Forest is I think I think they are where they are because they started believing in the. I know it sounds funny, right? But they are where they are partially because they started believing in themselves, in the system, in the manager, right? They stuck to their guns. They are doing simple things, but they are doing them really, really well, and it's paying off. And I think they are riding that wave of like positive, energy. I sound like a hippie or something, right? That with the
No.
positive energy and stuff, right? But I truly believe that a lot of football happens inside here, not necessarily in the legs or in the changing room. I think a lot of it happens in players' heads. They have to believe in themselves. They have to trust their own instincts, and I think winning games builds that confidence, right? So yeah, I think we are coming around with the topics, right? I think again, I'm not getting carried away with the 3 wins, but I think they are important for the team and also for the fans, right? Because fans need to believe too, right? It will take a lot to convince us to this like whole Ange project, but how else can he convince us other than winning, right? So if he wins against City, brilliant, right? If he wins against AZ Alkmaar, we are suddenly 5 wins on the spin, right? Then if he wins against Bournemouth, a team in form, a brilliant team, right, under Iraola, then it's 6 wins on the spot, right? And then we can start talking about being back, right? And players are coming back, right? Romero is supposed to be back, but by that time, same thing with Van de Ven, with Solanke apparently, right? Richarlison is coming back, even though I don't rate him, he's still an option that we can use, right? And suddenly you create that wave of like positive momentum around the whole club, and you can do mad things with it. That's how I look at sports, right?
Do you think it's a push though? Like some fans after that win against Ipswich said that we've got a chance that we could even push for Europe. I mean,
No,
that is
that's it.
crazy. That is crazy, isn't it? That not even if we had a fantastic run, we're looking at teams above us dropping so many points. I mean, it would be a massive shock. You're like winning. How many games we've got left? 13, right? So
Yeah,
you're
13
looking at
games.
winning like 10 out of 13. And if you look at the fixtures, some tricky ones away to Chelsea, away to Liverpool. There's some tough games to come still. So look, I think that's far-fetched. Would you agree,
Yeah.
Nige, as well? And
Yeah. I mean, we're 13th now. That's 6 teams above us that we'd have to get past. If we were 9th, maybe, but yeah, I just can't see it. Top 10, I think we should be looking at. But any higher, I think, is done now.
but can we win that Europa League? Next question.
Possibly.
Possibly.
We have to take it one game at a time.
Yeah.
One tie at a time. Let's get past Alkmaar and see who we get.
So,
Yeah.
Nige, we had this conversation on the show we did Friday night, didn't we? And we went into it a bit, and I kind of remember saying that it would be really disappointed if we didn't make the semis. At least, obviously the winnable game against AZ. Then we're up against either Frankfurt or Ajax. Again, 2 teams doing well. Ajax top of the league. Frankfurt, I think, are 3rd, but have lost their best player or one of their best players, Mamouche. Tricky game, but winnable. Both of them teams are winnable, I think, if we're building a bit of momentum in the league, getting some results, players back. Just all you can do is hope. Then it's looking like Lazio possibly. I mean, it's not guaranteed they'll make the semis, but people kind of favour them, don't they? They think they're a good side. Michael, is it realistic? Is it unrealistic that we could win that competition? What's your outlook on it as things stand right now?
Yeah, so as I said, the league is done, in my opinion. I think purely like mathematically, it would not a miracle, of course, right? If we win 13 out of 13, then that's 39 points that we add to our tally. Then suddenly you probably with 13 out of 13 means you could find yourselves in top 5 or something, right? But that we all know that's not going to happen with some of the fixtures we still have to play. But I think with the Europa League, right, the way I look at Europa League, I think one of the biggest things that's different this year compared to others is the fact that there are no Champions League dropouts. like in previous seasons when we played in the Europa League, we had to face, like, eventually you had to face the likes of, like, AC Milan, who came third in the league, or like, Inter Milan, or I don't know, Atletico Madrid, right? Or someone, a team of that ilk, right? Which in fact, like, shouldn't really be in that competition, because they are one of the best teams in their respective leagues, and they find themselves in a second tier competition, right? So I think
It's an
I said it,
advantage,
like,
Michael. It's
yeah,
definitely an advantage.
it's a huge advantage this season that we don't have to face the likes of those teams that I mentioned, right? When you look at that competition, and I will stand by what I said at the beginning of the season. I think we are, and don't take me wrong when I say one of the favorites, right? Not necessarily that we are the best team in the competition or whatever, but I feel like there is the teams that are in that competition are of similar quality to us, right? It's not that there is a team that's 100% better than us, that takes us complete, like, wipes the floor with us in terms of quality, right?
Yeah.
For me personally, I think that Bilbao are the clear favorites based on form in the league, and also based on the fact that the final happens at their ground, so they have an added motive to do well in that competition. And if you meet them in the final, it's going to be a really tough cookie to crack, right? But I do believe that we can get to the semi-final, right? AZ Alkmaar, we've beaten them once in the league phase. I think we can do that again, right? I think we can beat them over 2 legs. I think Frankfurt and Ajax, that's a 50-50 for me. I don't think they are that much better than us, or even better than us, right? I would, it's a European quarterfinal. Like, a lot of stuff can happen in that, right? And then in the semi-final, I personally think Lazio are a bit better than us, like maybe quite a bit better in some people's eyes. But it's a European tie again, right? Manchester City, when we knocked them out in a quarterfinal, were like 20 points ahead of us in the league, right? And they finished on like 98 points or something stupid like that, right? And we still managed to knock them out. So over 2 legs, a lot can happen, right? That being said, we can get knocked out by AZ Alkmaar, right? I have to caveat what I'm saying with
And
that, right?
what it is, Michael, sorry to interrupt
Yeah.
you, but what it is
Yeah,
as
go
well,
for
it's just those crucial games, isn't it? When it's knockout and it's a big game, and managers come up with tactical plans, so they get a good result in their home leg. If we're playing away, and then they come to our grounds, or they just shut up shop, or that managers adjust, don't they? Some of these European managers, they might not have the best teams or the best players, but they've got tactics. And this is where a lot of fans who don't believe in Ange, they don't believe that Ange is flexible enough and can do it in the big moments. We're yet to see it, right? We're yet to see it from Ange deliver in that kind of clutch moment, whatever you want to call it. And this is the concern for me massively, and many people. Now let's bring in Mark. Thank you, Mark, for joining us tonight and jumping
worries,
in.
mate.
How are you?
Mate. I was asked. Yeah. Well, no, all's good, mate. All's good.
You had a haircut.
Good. Yeah. Well, yeah. I was starting to look like a scarecrow, man.
Yeah, it looks good, man. I like the new look.
Slick.
No. Well, yeah. Yeah. I got clippers upstairs, mate. You remember when we went into lockdown? When we went into lockdown, mate, the barbers weren't open. I just got a pair of clippers, mate. Had them ever since. So over the winter, it's got to sort of come out here and grow and go mad. And then when I think it's warmed up, it goes again. But it's too cold. My head was frozen when I went out this morning.
What are you at?
Right, exactly. I put one of them on as well. It was still cold.
Did you, maybe because we've won those 3 games in a row now, Mark, you're thinking, let's get that hair looking shaven, and maybe we can keep that positivity going, right?
Yeah. Well, you never know, do you? You never know. I mean, we won 3 games, but there we go. Is that we're back? No, in my opinion.
We're not back yet. No.
Christ, no. If you win 5 or 6 in a row, or at the next 10 games, get 6 wins, 7 wins, couple of draws and a loss. That's like, we're back. not like 3 wins in a row against what? Brentford, who were all right. The worst Man United team since before the 1990s. And Ipswich, who we should be beating all day, every day anyway. I mean, I'm not like disrespecting them, but come on, innit? I mean, I couldn't believe we lost the home game. You know?
No.
This question here, so I wanted to ask people, and this is a good point by George. The amount of chances conceded in games reigns in some of the positivity, because we do concede a hell of a lot. Even though we've won the last 3 games, we concede a lot of chances, and it's only going to take coming across a team with a good forward line, and they're going to punish us.
Yeah.
Good
You only got to look.
chances as well.
You've only got to look at the Europa games. How many like shots on goal have there been?
Oh, we've been dreadful in the Europa League, haven't we?
You know what I mean? I mean, every game there, we've got, what, 20 chances on our goal? 20 shots at least on our goal?
Some big chances, yeah.
Yeah.
In many of those Europa games, we've got through it because we're just, man to man, we're better than a lot of those teams we played against. Look, going back to what you said, Mark, I agree with you. We're not back. We're definitely not back. Yeah, it's positive we're getting some wins. It's important. It really is, because we had to stop the rut. We really did. We had to stop it, and I'm pleased we have.
I always support the team, but I'm not likely to jump on that bus to saying, right, we're back now, we're going to win everything. You know?
Oh yeah. No,
I mean,
the league's done, isn't it? Really, the league is done. It's just pride now, really, isn't it? And I don't want to go down that avenue of like, oh, the league games don't matter, because they still do. They do matter. Many fans were like saying, "Well, put all the eggs in one basket in the Europa League," which, of course, that's the only competition we can win, and we all want to win it. That would be amazing if we did. We've still got league games to play, and we've got to put out performances. I've got a question about Ange coming up soon to all of you guys, and I'll be interested to hear what you're saying, and people in the chat as well. What I was going to say, Nige, is Europa League. Did you give your? I can't remember now. I know you. I think I interrupted you. Do you think we can win it?
I'm expecting semi-final, and once we get to the semi-final, then who knows? For me, though, it is very much. I know you're saying about the league. Yes, we have to play league games. We have to still win league games, but we absolutely have to be going all out for the Europa League, playing our strongest side in every single Europa League game for as long as we're in it, and then we'll see what happens. I'm expecting semi-final, and then see what we can do then. Because we're all assuming we're going to get Lazio, but you never know. We might not.
No, yeah, they could easily get knocked out. We just assume that, but you're right, Nige. Mark, I know we discussed this on the show on Friday. Any change of expectations for you? I think you said quarterfinals, semis, possibly.
Well, you never know, do you? I mean, cup games are weird. It's like Michael just said. When we beat City in the Champions League, they finished 20 points ahead of us. But we knocked them out of the cup. You never know in these cups. You know, I mean, let's face it, we're just as likely to lose to Alkmaar as we are to beat them. You've only got to have one off game in these cup games, especially over 2 legs in Europe. Just one off night, and that's it. You're done for. Like we're away the first leg, but like lose the first leg like 4-0, come back home for the second leg, and they stick 11 people behind the ball, and we can't break them down.
I don't think we'll lose 4-0 to them.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying it can happen. It can. You only got to have one off night. I mean,
we could lose it. I think, Mark.
Yeah,
we could lose it. I don't know if we'd lose by 4, because there's not been many teams this season who smashed us by many goals. I know we got thumped against Liverpool.
Yeah,
there's been a couple, but most games we kind of lose by the odd goal, really, which is.
Yeah, but it's like I said, these games, like a cup game is a cup game. They've been the same for years and years and years. You have one off night, and you have a bad performance, and that could be the end of you.
You're out, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, you've only got to go back to what Michael was saying about when we got the Champions League final. The amount of luck we got to go through that. It was lovely. We just rode the wave, didn't we, into the final?
We did.
You know, I mean, the City game, there was a disallowed game and they finished, 20 odd points ahead of us in the league. You know, we should have never beaten them, but we did. You know, it happens sometimes.
Like you say, all the way through that tournament.
Yeah.
Into Milan, we had to win like our last 3 league
Yeah.
games, didn't we, to go
Yeah.
through, and we won with like 3 deflections.
Yeah, even the semi-final, wasn't it? We were 2-0 down at half time, 3-0 on aggregate, or so, or 3-0 on aggregate, wasn't it? We were down because we were 2-0 down. Lucas Moura pops up with a hat trick in the second half, and we're off to Madrid.
Look, when we're talking like this, there's always a chance, even if you don't like this team or Ange.
Of course,
at the end of the day, we're fans. We want our team to win. I mean, I don't know if will it be all forgiven this season if actually we lift that trophy. You have to give it to Ange, don't you?
Of course you do,
because
we
haven't won anything for so long, and I'm going to have to eat my words or whatever. But so what? We'll be winning that trophy.
Exactly.
I can take it.
Look, we all sit here on this panel, and we're all Tottenham fans at the end of the day. I mean, we all want our club to do as best they can and win things. Just win a blood trophy would be something. Let's face it, it's been that flipping long. But like, we all want our club to win, but we see all of us, everybody, comments, everyone, any Tottenham fan throughout the whole world, they all see things differently on how we're going to get to the. We all want us to win at the end of the day, whether it's with Ange, whether it's with Levy, whether it's with none of them, whether it's with some of them. It doesn't matter. We all want our team to be successful.
And look, we do. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Then I was going to say something, Mark. It's gone now. I'm sure it will come back to me. But so we're just kind of this. There was always a chance that we could win this Europa League. It's just, I just don't know. I just don't know with Ange. I really don't. And this team, it's just been dreadful at parts this season. A lot of it, really, isn't it? Well, 13. When's the last time we've lost 13 games at this stage of the season? You've got to go back to like Jerry Francis days, isn't it, Nige? Sort of time. It's a long time ago when we had that number of defeats. It's just so early in the season. Going back to that Europa League finally, before I've got a question about Ange. Anybody want to add anything about that Europa League? Well, I think we're all kind of thinking we can. There's always a chance. We're not all convinced, though. We have our reservations. Anything to add on to that before we go to the next question?
Yeah, I don't necessarily believe that we will win, right? But, I sometimes joke about with Stelios and others, right? That I'm a bit younger than them and I have that like youthful naivety, if you know what I mean, that I still like believe that something good happens around the corner. Whether I feel like sometimes when I watch Stelios and other fans who have been like Spurs supporters for a longer time than me, I feel like they are like a bit scarred, if you know what I mean, that they have to be proven otherwise, right? It's they don't necessarily have that belief in them, and rightfully so, by the way. I'm not criticizing in any shape or form, right? I think this team has let fans down plenty of times over the past couple of seasons, right? And I think that trust and that belief has to be rebuilt in a way, right? And Ange doesn't do, the greatest job at rebuilding that trust, right? But again, like I've been a fan of this cup for six or 7 years. I know it's not a lot compared to many fans in the chat and you three guys, right? So maybe that's why I still have that like belief in me. And again, that belief is supported by what I said about the lack of Champions League dropouts, right? I think that has been the biggest like difference for me, right? Because if we had to face like Inter Milan or a club like that, or like let's take City for example, right? Let's assume, because City got knocked out in the playoffs, right? Let's assume they finished their group third, right? And we had to face City in a two-way tie or in a European final. I don't see us winning that tie at all, right? But do I see us winning a double-legged tie against Lazio? I don't think we are favorites, but I think we can, right?
Yeah, because you do normally find when it was last year and you used to get the dropouts from the Champions League, one of them would go on and win it. Normally.
Or at least get to a final or something, right? At least get to a semi, at least get to a final. And Sevilla did it like 5 or 6 times, right? All the Europa Leagues have been, when they dropped out of the Champions League spot, right? Champions League group, sorry.
Right, let's move on to this question before we go on to the City game. Look into it a little bit more detail. So, question to everybody: after what has happened so far this season, what would you need to see to convince you that Ange should be given until the end of this season and given another shot next season? Start off with Nige.
Well, he wants him here anyway, so it's pointless asking him.
No, I wouldn't.
No, I'm only joking, Nige.
I was going to say, I think for me, he's got to stay in Europa League. As simple as that. I think the minute he goes out of the Europa League, if he was to go out against Alkmaar, I could see him being sacked before the end of the season. So for me, I just want to see him go far in the Europa League, as far as possible. I don't really care about the league now. Hopefully we'll win a few more games, but it's all about Europa League. So for me, I want to see him put the strongest side out in Europa League every game, adjust tactically if he needs to, and win us a trophy. And then I still want him gone in the summer, even if he wins this trophy.
Cool, brutal, Nige, that is. I thought you were around in.
I am to the end of the season.
Caveat. Okay, what about league-wise, Nige? If we, say if we lose another 5 or 6 games, would that contribute to your decision as well?
I don't think it matters as long as we're in the Europa. I think that's
So
the
say
one
we don't
thing
win the Europa, we don't, and then the league. Okay, this doesn't really make sense, that question.
No, I think if we stay in, if we were to get past Alkmaar and then lose a few more games, I think he'd then probably be safe to the end of the season. I think it all depends on the Alkmaar game. If he gets through that, he's fine. If he gets knocked out, I think he's gone.
Yeah. Okay. Michael, that question for you.
Yeah, I think he's safe until the end of the season. I don't think they are sacking him unless he gets dragged into a relegation battle, which he won't, because the 3 promoted teams, like we already have like a 19 points gap between us and Southampton and Ipswich and other teams, right? So based on what I saw from our chairman and the ownership, they haven't sacked him in January, where I felt like there were more than a couple of reasons to sack him at that point and search for a replacement. So I don't necessarily think the league form has like much influence over that decision. Again, coupled with the fact that we are as far away from the relegation zone as we could get, right? So I think more,
what would need to convince you, Michael, for him to, because there is a big chance that he could remain here to the end of the season and next season as well. But what would you want to see? Because I know, Michael, you're not happy with Ange. You probably would have sacked him quite a while ago. So what do you need to see from this team now to kind of convince you to change your mind, or I don't know.
So I think there are games that we aren't going to win, and I'm not going to put them massively on Ange's head, right? So like if we go to Anfield away and lose, I am not like going mad over it. They are the best team in Europe right now, right? And there are like 2 or 3 others where I won't be bothered if we lose them. But I think to convince me back I think it would take a lot. I've lost a lot of trust with this guy, right? And I've said it plenty of times. I don't have anything personal against him. It's not that I want him sacked because I don't like him, or I don't like the way he speaks. I couldn't really give a toss, if I can be honest with you guys, right? Managers for me, their primary job is to set up a team in the best way possible to try and win the football match, right? And this is how I look at it. And if he does that, then I can start believing back in him, right? But because of the amount of trust I lost with the Ipswich loss and the Leicester loss at home, and how we collapsed at Brighton, how we collapsed against Chelsea at home, right? And plenty of other results like that, it would take a lot for me. It would probably take like winning majority of those other games that I didn't mention at the beginning of that long-winded sentence, right? So we would probably have to win against Fulham. We would have to win against Bournemouth, have to win against a couple other teams like that, right? And finish the league strongly.
Win the games that we should win, Michael.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
And do really well in Europe, right? Because he can do that in the league, but if he gets knocked out against Alkmaar, sorry, that trust he isn't making that up with a couple of league wins, right? I'm not saying he has to win the Europa League, because there were better managers than him that didn't win at this club, right? So if he loses a semi-final to Lazio, and let's say the score over 2 legs is like 3-2 to Lazio, right? And they defeat us like 2-1 at home and draw. They defeat us at their home 2-1 and we draw 1-1 at our home. I will be upset, but I won't be going mad over it, right? But if we get slapped 6-0 over 2 legs against Lazio and they catch us on the counter 6 times, right? Then I will be mad, right? So it's sorry, I know it's a long-winded answer, but it's
fine,
hard
man.
It's hard to quantify exactly what he would have to do to gain my trust back, right? It's more about the feeling. You go through each game and you know deep inside something changes inside you, and you are like, you start believing in the project again, or you don't, right? Or you see the results and you're like, no, like, man, like, I hate what you did for the past few months, and you are doing this again, and you are losing again, and we are naive again, right?
Yeah.
So, as I said, it's hard to quantify, right? But I feel like if he does really well at the end of the season in the league, right, and if he goes far in the Europa League, I don't think they will sack him in the summer. That's how I look at it, right?
But would you get behind it, or are you just still Ange out and you really want to change? Have you seen enough, Michael? Have you seen enough? Do you think that Ange can learn? Like, for me, Ange needs to, in the summer, he needs to go on a managerial course, coaching course, doesn't he? Really, to kind of upskill his coaching and how he manages, because he's not done well this season. Let's be real here. We can't. I get all this trying to be positive and get behind the manager and the team, but just be honest. It's not been good enough this season. We've been really shocking. Really have at times.
Yeah. So at the beginning of this season, right after the collapse that we had at the end of last season, right, I said that my trust has been lost, not fully lost, but I lost a lot of trust in him. And for me to get behind the project again, I would need to see him adapt more to the circumstances of the game, right? I would need to see him make changes that nullify the opposition and basically do a manager's job, right? Just see the strengths of the opposition, try to nullify them, right? Expose the weaknesses of the opposition, elevate our players. And I didn't necessarily see that in this season. So I definitely wouldn't give him a second chance like that, right? It's not, for me, what happens this season really matters, right? And if I don't see the adaptation right now, him changing things that we mentioned earlier in this stream, right? If I don't see him adapting and changing and actually getting results off of that, then I don't have the trust, and I wouldn't get back with the project, right? I wouldn't trust him again. But if I see those changes, I still believe this team is actually quite good. Not like title challenging good, but like Europa League to Champions League spot challenging, good. That's how I evaluate this team. And if he uses this team up to its utmost like capability, then I can get behind that project, right? So I think it's mainly about his choices as a manager and the way he handles the rest of the season, right? And again, I can't clearly like give you if X happens.
Michael, it's a tricky question.
Yeah,
it's a tricky question, and it was kind of meant to be. It's get us all thinking and talking about it, because he's still here, isn't he? And there's with this club, you could end up having him next season as well, couldn't we? And that's it's worrying. It's worrying, but there's a lot more of the season to play, league matches. I'm going to say my bit in a minute. Let's go to thanks, Michael. That was good. It's a difficult question. Mark, for you, that question. Do you want me to ask it again? Because you might have.
Yeah, it was something to do with what's he got to do to keep his job, or
no. So what it is. So after what's happened so far this season, where we've been truly awful, what would you need? What would you need to see to convince you that Ange should be given until the end of the season and given another shot next season?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I think Michael covered most of it. It's to actually play a team to, well, just set up a team with the tools he's got, because you're not going to have the same tools every game, are you? Players are going to come in and out, they get injured. Whether that's his fault or not is debatable. But to me, it is, because of the way we play. But, just because it doesn't matter who, from what I've seen of this season, it doesn't matter who we've got on the pitch. We just play the same way. Whether even when the personnel is constantly being swapped, there's two at the back for a start. I mean, that can't be right. How many times have we been exposed in the defensive areas? You know what I mean? And he still insists on playing that high line when he had flipping I know what expression calls him.
Davis at the back.
Davis and the other one, Romanian Reigns, whatever expression calls him.
That was truly shocking, wasn't it?
Right.
He did.
Davis is he's about 40. He's 30, oddly, he? Or he's 30 or so, And you got Dragerson, who's not the quickest anyway. So why are they parked on the halfway line? It's all right if you got Mickey there. But
naive, such a naive decision, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There's no adaptation whatsoever. He doesn't adjust to, because let's face it, we got a squad of 23, 25 players, whatever it is, and you're not going to get 25 robots that are exactly the same, are you? You're not. It's human. We're all human beings, so you're going to get 25 different players, but he doesn't fit them in. Like, say, if Madison's playing one, just leave him up the front so he can be the creator. No, he gets him dropping back in the bloody our own half. He's no good back there, and you got, say, another midfielder that's more sort of settled to being at the back. You'll have him up front. It's nonsense. You've got to play with the tools you got, and he doesn't do that. He really does not do that, because we play exactly the same way no matter who's on the pitch. The only teams that's forced us to change is like City in the Cup, where it was either the players took it upon themselves or City forced us back. One of the two. But the only games that we played well this season is when we've completely thrown Ange ball out the window and played on the counter-attack. And we have, because we played City on the counter-attack when it was either they forced us back or we sat back on purpose. It's debatable which one that is. And we hit them on the break and we scored. The League Cup game when we won 1-0. And what other game was it we won on the break as well? I think that was another League Cup game. Was that the Liverpool game?
Yeah.
The 1-0 at home.
Yeah.
And it's another one of them cases. Is it we chose to do that, or did Liverpool force us back? Debatable. Yeah. But that's the only times we've looked half sensible. Is one
So what needs to convince you again, Mark? I've lost
right.
track. What, is it?
Right.
Is it
An adaptation to start with,
okay?
to know that not every player is the same, and you might have to flick it, change things when certain people are available to when certain other people are available. B, win that bloody Europa League, because without that, what's the point of us being 12th? There's none. We did not build a £1 billion stadium to finish 12th in the Premier League or in the bottom half. Even 11th is still not acceptable after our so-called revenue and our spending power and all that. It's not acceptable. And so, well, to be honest, I would have liked him gone 6 months ago, because to me,
Same.
I've said this on many streams in the 50 odd years I've supported this club. He's probably the worst manager I've ever seen, by a long way. By a long way. I can't remember us being this terrible. So open at the back, refusing to adapt. We've had some pretty poor managers, but they haven't had the squad that he's got as well. Because let's face it, unusually for Mr. Levy, I know it's not a Levy conversation, but unusually for Mr. Levy, he's actually allegedly backed the manager for once. He's certainly spent the bloody money.
What a manager to back, eh?
Yeah, exactly. And he's backed the bloody wrong one. Where was that money when Poch was here and we were on the cusp of winning nothing? He didn't sign no one for 500 odd days.
Or Conte.
Yeah,
Conte, yeah.
yes, or him. Yeah, but Pochettino's the one, because we were
Harry.
there.
There's so many you can go.
Yeah. With
every
Pochettino,
manager, every
with
manager.
Pochettino, we were there. We were within half an inch of winning a league, anything, and we didn't sign no one for 500 days. That, and yet all of a sudden he just chucks all his eggs in this basket with him. It's like I said, he's the worst manager I've seen.
Okay, so yeah, I don't think you'll ever be convinced, Mark.
No, well,
no.
If he wins, put it this way:
Unless he wins Europa.
If he wins Europa League, right, I will have to come on here and say,
yeah,
I was wrong. He's won us a cup, and I will be happy, because I want, as I said about 10 minutes ago, we all want our team to win stuff. We all want our team to be successful. It's how we get to that success that we all might have disagreements on. But at the end of the day, we all want our club to be successful.
Yeah, so I'm in the same boat, by the way. I think he deserved to be sacked a couple months ago, right? Even before that injury crisis, right? Because after we got all those injuries, you could always make a case of, look how many players he's missing. Like, it's unfair to sack him now, which I kind of understood when people were coming from that angle, right? But I think even before that, performances that we are putting in, the teams that we are losing to, I think he deserved to be sacked based on that, right? But as Mark said, right, if he wins that Europa League, right, I will have to come out here and say that I was wrong about him, right? Because I personally don't believe he's tactically good enough to fight those like managers, those astute European managers from yeah. But if he does the unthinkable and actually brings us our first trophy in 17 years, right? Then there is no way he is getting sacked unless he walks himself, right? There is no way, and he shouldn't be sacked, in all honesty, if he wins the Europa League, right? Because he gets us into the Champions League, right? Which I know plenty of people get pissed off when financial side of the game gets mentioned, but financially it's the best we can do, right? To get into that Champions League. He breaks the trophy drought, right? He gets that monkey off our back as a Spurs fan base, right? It's not a pleasure to come on to shows with fans of different clubs, right? And always hear, oh, you guys win nothing, you win nothing, right? You are bottle jobs, you are Spurs, you are this, you are that, right? If you win that Europa League, like, all I can do is sit, drink my pina colada, right? And just chill, because we actually win a trophy, right? So if he wins, then I I wanted to say I will apologize. I don't think I have to apologize, right? I think the criticism was warranted, right? I
You
never
don't
went
have to
overboard.
apologise at all. We've been shocking. It's not been good enough,
Yeah.
Michael. It's not been
Yep.
good enough. Like 3 wins in a row. So what?
Exactly right.
If you think about it, the season's been a shit show, hasn't
Exactly
it?
right.
Knocked out both domestic cups, like losing so many games. I mean, it's just not good enough. Poor tactical
No.
decisions, bad management of the squad. I mean, you can go on and on and on. I mean, David Roadman, who came on earlier, he had his positivity spin on it, and I get it, and where he is coming from. But like I said, I need to see it, and I'll go to what I think now. So for me, Ange, there's no more excuses for Ange. Yeah, he better win that Europa League.
Mhm.
He's got most of the players coming back in the next 10 days, full squad. The league performances, we can't be losing games where we should be winning, right? Home, many teams in this league are away, not the top teams. I don't expect us to go to Liverpool and win. Chelsea is always a struggle for any manager, any team. But we need to be, but it's all about progression in the team as well, because there's games where we play well for short periods, but we never play well for the majority of the game. We don't look secure. We can't shut up shop. We gift teams chance after chance after chance. So there's so much I need to see to give me any kind of thoughts of me being convinced. And yes, there's games to play. There's the Europa League. There's the league games. But Ange it's got to, and I just don't think it will happen. I just think we'll continue to see this kind of yo-yo football where we'll score goals, we'll concede goals, we'll win games, but then we'll have those defeats where you're thinking, come on, Ange, like, when are you ever going to learn?
Mhm.
So, again, it goes back to the Europa League. He has to win it and all of that stuff I said. And we'll see where we're at. Fair?
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
No.
Right,
No.
let's go on to the City game. Final discussion tonight. So, look, many fans think that this is a winnable game. People think Ange has got Pep's number because City are not great this season, and some fans think, yeah, we can beat City, no problem. I don't know about that. Let's start with Nige on this one. Before I get into your thoughts on it, Nige, just bring up some results from City in the Premier League. I'm not the cup or the Champions League matches. I'm just going to bring up their results in the kind of like last month. Let's have a look. So this is their results.
Yeah, I was going to say, everyone's been saying they're dreadful, but they're still fourth.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's dreadful.
Let me check down George's comment quickly. Hold on a second. Where's that comment now? Oh, it is. Right, here we go. Yeah, so let's have a look at that. Right, going back to 4th of Jan, where they beat West Ham, went to Brentford, got a draw, smashed Ipswich, beat Chelsea 3-1, got beaten badly by Arsenal, beat Newcastle 4-0, and then lost at the weekend. So their form is, well, they're fourth. They are getting wins, but they are losing games as well, and obviously they're out of the Champions League. It's not the City of old, of course. Of course, it's not the City of old, but
No, but they're an aging team, though. In my opinion,
aging.
I
Aging,
think
yeah.
so. You
What
know,
do you
like
mean aging team.
we're aging. You know, De Bruyne's not the same, is he?
Who else? Who's aging? Because they've got quite a few youthful players in that team, haven't they? I know John Stones is getting on, but he's injured up. Carl Walker.
I wish I never. I know because I'm useless at remembering footballers' names. I'm useless at remembering anything. Who's the one that's been missing? Is it Rodri in the middle?
Yeah, he's been missing all season, but I wouldn't say he's an aging player.
Is he not? I thought he was getting older. It
He's
seems.
still young.
No, he's
Still young.
Oh, is he? Oh, all right.
Yeah,
He's
definitely
29, right? 28
Yeah.
or 28 of
Well, it just seems then that these players have been about forever at Man City. So they must have bought them like super young. It just seems like they've been there for like 10, 15 years. That's probably what it is, because they've been that good for that damn long.
I think that's it. I think they've been that good for that long. Like they've
Yeah.
just, it's almost like when you're doing the same thing every year and you're winning every year, it
Yeah.
must get really hard to motivate yourself again for the next season when you're constantly winning. I
Well,
think
obviously,
they've just taken their eye off the ball a little bit this season. They'll be back
well,
next season.
well, obviously, us at Tottenham, we wouldn't know anything about that.
Yeah.
Michael, what's your thoughts on City's form this season, and just your thoughts in general? What's going on with them?
Sorry, I think I lagged. Do you guys see me well?
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now?
yeah. We
Yeah.
see you. Yeah,
Yeah, you're all right.
Yes. So with City, right? I think I think they were so good for so long, right?
Yeah.
That right now we see them. Right now they are normal, right? They are a normal top 4 team. They do what normal teams do, right? Which is win here, lose there, right? Go on a little bit of a run, get a surprising draw or a loss, right? I think they are just a normal team right now because they were exceptional for so long. And as people have said, some people have been saying that they are in the biggest crisis ever, and yet they are still 4th, right? So one thing that this says is how inconsistent most of the teams in this league are, right? Because when you look at that, Chelsea have fallen off a cliff after a good start, right? Nottingham Forest are winning, right? And they are there. They are kind of like out of the blue in the top 4, right? But Bournemouth, they are a really good team, but they aren't good enough to constantly win, right? When you look at Newcastle, they are really a really good team, right? I think they have a really solid first 11, but they lack a bit of quality. They lack a bit of that. They can't go on a run, right? So we end with City in 4th, right?
Let's get the table up.
Yeah.
Because then it helps us then, doesn't it? Really. Let's get that. Let's get their table up.
Yeah. So the way I look at them, right? I feel like when I watch City, I feel like I agree with Mark. I think they are aging in a sense that, especially in the midfield, quite a few of their players are maybe aging is a bit of a bad way to put it. I think they lost a bit of physicality in the midfield. I think the fact that Rodri is injured has hampered them massively. I think he's been covering and running for quite a few players in that team. I think KDB, he looks like he's starting to fade away in the like his career is starting to fade away. Same thing with Gundogan, and I think Bernardo Silva is running his socks off, but you can clearly see that he's really knackered. Similar
Yeah,
to
he's an older player.
Yeah.
That's one
Yes.
Mark that you're probably referring to as well. Gundogan.
Yeah. So like those 4 especially, right? Gundogan, KDB, and Silva. I think they are I think all of them are over 30, and Rodri is injured, and Foden never was the type of a guy to run around a lot, right? So I feel like most of the issues that they have right now come from the midfield because people focus on their defense, but I don't think it's necessarily defenders' fault the way that the way they get transitioned on all the time, right? Because when you look at their games, if they come up against a physical midfield that can turn the ball over, there are a lot of times where they get sprung on, and
High line. They play a very high line.
Yeah, they play a very high line, and their midfield doesn't have the physicality to cover the defense. And this is partially, by the way, where I see us doing well against them, because as much as I don't necessarily rate our midfielders in terms of quality on the ball and like overall those aging players are still way better than what we have in the midfield, right? But what our players have is the physicality and the energy, right? And I think if they play a similar midfield to what we see right now, right? Silva, Foden, and Gonzalez, I think he will be a brilliant player for them, but he is quite young. He needs to, learn the system, learn the Premier League, right? Foden is not a physical player. He doesn't run around a lot.
Michael, can you tell us a bit more about this new player? Because I'm sorry, I don't know. Who is this player? Where's he from? I
Yeah, so
haven't really been
i-
following it. Man
if
City this
if
season.
I'm not wrong, he's either from Barca or Real Madrid academy. He left the one of I don't remember which club it was. It's either Barca or Real Madrid, right? He left that club at quite a young age, and they bought him from Porto, FC Porto, right? And he's been doing really, really well in the Portuguese league. At least from what I read on him online, I don't necessarily watch too many games of Porto. I watched a couple of their games in the Europa League, right? But what he is, I think he is that like hybrid between a 6 and an 8. So he's not like a destroyer center defensive midfielder. But I wouldn't necessarily call him like a typical box to box where he just gets involved in every single attacking phase, right? I feel like when Rodri comes back, he will form a really good pivot with Rodri, where Rodri will be a bit of a more defensive side of a pivot, and Gonzalez will be a bit of a more offensive, kind of like we had with Dembele and Wanyama. Not the same types of players, but you get the point. Like Wanyama was a bit more defensive, Dembele carried the ball forward, right? So yeah, that's how I see him, right? And yes, he's young. I think it will take him a bit of time to get used to Pep's system. But I think this is kind of similar to what we will see against us tomorrow. I don't know if Haaland is fit or not, right? If Haaland is there, then it changes things, right? But assuming he's not, I think this will be kind of similar to what we see against us. And this midfield is not physical, right? Gonzalez is physical, but other two guys, Silva and Foden, aren't, right? And I think if we
He's
play,
a very busy midfielder, Michael. When I look at his heat map, he's all over that midfield. Works a lot. You know, you says a lot. If when you look at his positioning on the field, you know his heat map, red all around that, in front of the defense, behind the forwards. He's very, very active.
Yes, yeah. So yeah. So by the way, by physical, I literally mean like the strength and the physicality, right? I think Bernardo Silva, he runs around a lot, he covers a lot of ground, similar thing to Gonzalez, right? But they aren't like physically imposing, right?
No.
So I think if a Bissouma or a Sar get into a 1v1 against them, I think they wouldn't find it the hardest to take the ball off them. And that's where I see our chances against City, right? I think if we manage to turn over the ball in the midfield, I think we have a pathway, a literal highway to attack them on the flanks and through the middle, right? I think if you play a front three of Johnson, Tell, and Son, which probably we will, that probably this will be the front three that we play against them. We have a lot of pace, we have finishing, and I think purely because it's against City, I think City will have majority of the ball, and we will be able to catch them on the counter, right? So overall, I don't think they are a bad matchup for us, right? And I think a lot of this game will depend on the fullbacks dealing with the wingers, right? Because we saw Doku and Savio turn Robertson and Trent inside out, right? But they didn't have the final ball, right? They couldn't find the Marmoush, and that's how they struggled to create chances against Liverpool, right? So I think if we can kind of try to replicate what Liverpool did and catch them on the counter, win that midfield battle and catch them on the counter, I think we can hurt them, right? But that's the positive side, right? The negative side is I don't think like Porro will deal with Doku well,
He can't
right?
play Porro tomorrow, can he? He's got to play Spence there, especially up against Doku.
Yeah.
He's got to play Spence because Doku's going to rinse Porro through the whole game. And it really concerns me because Ange rested Porro, didn't he, against Ipswich? So that kind of makes me think that it's just going to be Porro right back and Udogie left back. And Spence does not deserve to be dropped. It's just going to be interesting to see tomorrow. But knowing Ange, and he doesn't learn, I think we're gonna see Porro, and I like Porro. Don't get me wrong; he's got a good pass on him. He's good on the ball, but he's not good at defending. Let's be honest here.
He's good in the back five. He's good in the back five.
He's
Yeah.
in the back
Or
five.
If we play the back five, right?
Yeah.
we won't.
So if you think about this, are we going to be? Is Ange going to say to the team, "Look, just sit in there, play on the counter attack"? Yeah, okay, right. You know, the right winger has got to be supporting the right back. Yeah, or is it just going to be that Man City probably are just going to force us back because they're just good on the ball? So some couple of really crucial decisions there. Now, Nige, that kind of fallback, what would you do?
I'm in the same boat. Can you bring the team up again, the Man
Yeah, of
City
course.
team up?
Yeah, of course.
So I find it really interesting that I'm the same. I play Spence. Spence has to play for me. Um, but first off, I think that midfield is really. I think we can really get at them. I think we can get through that midfield quite easily
So who are you
and
playing
get
in
at
the
their
midfield,
defence.
Nige? Who are you playing there?
Well, Madison has to start, and then I would probably go Bentancur and it's a difficult one. Saar maybe just because of his legs.
Not
But
Basuma or Bergvall?
no, I don't think I'd play Bergvall this game. I don't know. It's difficult. And it's good that Ange has actually got options now. But for me, Madison has to start. And Bentancur, and then it could be any one of the other three. But I just find the Man City forward line really interesting because we have been spitting about Johnson and even Sonny to an extent. But if you look at Doku and Savinho, two great players, two players that get you off your seat 100%, excite you when they're on the ball. But for me, they have absolutely no end product.
Who?
I mean, they're
Those two?
great. They beat a man for fun, but they have no end product. Whereas at least our attackers do.
Let's look at that. Doku, I don't think he's got a lot of end product, but Savinho has some end product. Let's look at him.
He did all right at the start of the season, didn't he? And
He
he's
has
not pulled up any
spurts in
trees or
games,
anything.
doesn't he? He has those good games where he
Yeah.
plays really well, scores a couple of goals, but he's not consistent with his output. I need to have a look at it. I will look it up while you guys are talking.
For me, I think that's been one of City's biggest downfalls this season. I don't understand why Grealish isn't playing. I think he gives a lot more than Doku does, personally. Yes, Doku's fast, exciting, beats a man, but like I said, doesn't do a lot else. At least Grealish will give chances to his strikers. And
So
the last
I've
couple
got
of
his
weeks, I've seen
stats.
Savinho, he's done very little.
So his stats, though, just to give some context to this, he's had in the league 21 games, 1 goal, 7 assists.
Yeah.
Not fantastic, is it?
Yeah.
And Doku,
For a
I'll
team
have a look at him as
chasing
well.
the title.
But these
Yeah,
are the wingers that we would love at Spurs, weren't they? These type of wingers to excite.
Absolutely, but it depends what you want, doesn't it? Do you want players that get you off your seat, or do you want players that gives you numbers?
Is there a deeper issue though at Man City? It's not just that, is it? There's something deeper. What's just not quite working.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they are lacking the balance right now, right? I think they will definitely go into the summer and splash some cash on a center attacking mid, possibly get another winger, right? And I think when they find the balance, they have the potential in those players to really get a hold of the game. And by the way, coming back to one of the things you mentioned, Dan, right? I think because you said whether Ange will tell the players to be defensive or whether we will be forced, right? I think we'll be forced to be more defensive, right?
Yeah.
Because overall, even though I criticized Man City's midfield, they keep the ball well, right? They just lose it from time to time because they don't have the strength to fight off the opposition midfielders, right? But I think we'll be forced back, right? But I actually think this will kind of work in our advantage, right? Because as Mark has mentioned, right, there were a couple of games this season where we were forced into a defensive position and we are forced to stay back and counter, and we picked up the fruits of that situation, right? I like Manchester City the first time we played them in the cup. Exactly the same thing happened, right? They forced us back. We caught them on the counter 2 times. When we played them at the Etihad, like 2 or 3 goals came from them pushing us back into our own penalty box and us bringing the ball over their heads, right? Liverpool, the first leg, right, where we won 1-0. When we played against Villa at our home, Villa for big chunks of that game, they forced us back and we actually caught them on the counter, scored 4 past them, right? And there are like maybe a couple other examples that don't come back to me, right?
That was the other game I was trying to think of, Michael.
Yeah,
the Villa game.
So I think the fact that they will push us back will kind of expose the strengths of our players. If you get what I mean.
Can we
right?
be clinical enough tomorrow? This is another thing.
This
we
will
won't
be the
get
question,
heaps of
right?
chances. Can we be clinical? We have in the past against City, very, very clinical. And can we do it again tomorrow?
Yeah, this will be the main question, right? Whether we are clinical or not, right? So, of course, I hope
City
we will.
will cut us open at will. You know that City will cut whatever. Even if we're playing defensive, they will get chances in this game. And you know the goalie's got to play well. It's going to be tough. It's really hard, isn't it?
According to Sky Sports, I watched a bit earlier today. Haaland was training as well today.
So let me bring up the missing players for both teams.
Whether he's available or not, I don't know. But he was definitely training with Man City today.
Yeah, Pep said he could be involved, maybe on the bench.
Mm-hmm. I don't think he will start.
Come on.
I don't think he will start. I think he will come on.
Yeah.
Maybe he will start, right? But you know, I just feel like because they mentioned something about a knee issue with him, and I feel like that's like such a scary prospect to play him over the injury. I don't think Pep necessarily cares about this game that much to risk Haaland getting injured and losing him for a longer period of time. So I feel
What
like
do you mean he doesn't care much, Michael? What is it in the league? He's still not guaranteed top 4 yet.
So sorry, maybe I put it like the wrong way. I think he still backs himself to win plenty of games this season.
Without
right?
him,
So
I get you.
I feel like he will do a calculated risk of he's presented with a choice of do I risk Haaland, right, for this game, where I think he believes he doesn't necessarily need to risk him in that game. Listen, I feel even without Haaland, City have enough quality to beat us. So I think he will make a calculated decision and put him on the bench and use him as a sub rather than starting him from the beginning. Because if Haaland got injured that game, then they are in big trouble, right? Because they still have a couple of games at the end of the season where they will definitely need him, right? Harder games than playing us away, right? Although it's one of the hardest games for City, right? Because they don't win at our stadium, but you get the point, right? We have some sort of juju over them. It's not necessarily because we are better than them, right?
Let's get some comments up in the chat because we haven't had some comments up for a while, and I think
I'll be honest though, the juju we had over them is when we had Harry Kane. You know, it's sort of diminished.
Well, we've beaten them twice this year, Mark.
Yeah, I was going to say, we still do beat them regularly, but a lot of it was with Harry Kane up front, wasn't it? And he was the one that normally...
Son.
Yeah, and we've still got Son, but he's not the Son that he was.
Performing Son, yeah. Let's get some comments out in the chat. Let's have a look. Draven, he's the worst manager we've ever had. So you must have been having a little argument in the chat with Draven about Ange. Mark... oh no, it's Mark Cookmaster.
That was Cookmaster.
Yeah, Cookmaster. How are you, Mark? Hope you're well. You're not well, are you? I hope you get better soon, buddy. Sorry to hear that, mate. Man. And George, good show, Nige. Dan, well done. Thanks, mate. Thank you very much. Draven, we're all saying he's the worst manager, but so what? He's here, and we have to support him.
Yeah.
I support any manager. I haven't the power to sack him and get another one. That's up to Levy, I'm afraid to say. That's true. George, it's totally a new side. Simple as that. Is he referring to City? I'm not sure. Maybe. It's a totally new side. Maybe this was quite a while ago in the chat. David Clark, Ange better not put Dance on the wrong side this game because whoever's playing right back will need all the help he can get because he won't get it from Kulu. This is it. This is the concern, what we just mentioned a little while ago about whoever's playing right back needs the help from their winger. And and then again, and that's why I'm thinking Kulusevski may get chosen. A bit more physical, isn't he? Get up the field, get down. Johnson, in a defensive aspect, offers very, very little. He might
really
go in
get
for the odd
back, doesn't he?
challenge, but it's this balance. This is a decision Ange's got to make tomorrow.
To be honest, if he doesn't play Spencer, there's got to be something wrong with him because Spencer's our only natural fullback.
He's probably going to play him left back.
Yeah, I think he will play left back, Spence, and Porro will play right back.
Yeah, possibly.
And then he'll bring a doggy on because he's just come back. I think that's probably more likely to happen. I can't support a manager who's tactically inept and stubborn as a mule. The team, yes, but the manager, no. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
And CEM, Levy is entirely another piece of work altogether. I support any manager up to a point, but once I've seen enough to show me he's not up for it, I'll just support the players on the pitch. Yeah, same here, man. Definitely agree with that. And George, my mindset at the moment says take a draw. Look, just on that, I would take a draw. I think a draw is a good result against a good side. And then it just shows us that we're not losing and we keep the unbeaten run going in the league. So, yeah, hell yeah, definitely take a draw.
But we do normally beat them. As good as City are, we do normally beat them.
Yeah, and I think this is why a lot of fans are hopeful tomorrow. They're looking forward to the game because of our excellent record against City.
Yeah.
If it was another team, maybe we'd be a bit more worried. Well, I'm still worried, but I mean, I'm talking general fans. Draven, let's hope this tide is now turning for the better. If you begin to enjoy the football and we are winning, you'll always have to support the manager. Look, obviously, we always hope for better days, but we've got to be realistic with Ange. He hasn't shown enough that he is a good manager. At the moment, he's not a good manager. Nicola, now we are 13th, so that means Palace won, right?
Yeah, 4-1.
Palace beat Villa.
4-1.
What's the score?
4-1.
Stuffed.
Wow. It's a great result for Palace, eh?
That is.
Glasner, the guy I wanted after Conte, by the way. I was
with Palace, Michael and Nigel and Mark. Palace didn't start the season well, did they? I know they lost a couple of players in the summer, and they've kind of picked it up slowly. It's been a very gradual. What is it? What has gone on? What's happened with them? Why are they starting to pick up more results?
I think they needed to get used to not having Olise, right? Because they were absolutely brilliant at the end of the previous season, but it was mainly built on Mateta, Eze, and Olise, right? When you look at it, 3 quality players in the attack, right? And they were, Glasner, he plays 3 at the back. The Munoz, by the way, the right back, I think he's absolute quality, and they got him for peanuts from Belgian league, right? And he isn't anything like. Sorry, I said absolute quality. I think he isn't like a
reliable. Is that it? Is he like reliable,
he's
Michael?
Really reliable. He does his job well. He defends well, and he contributes in the attacking part of the pitch, right? So I think overall, Glasner made them really solid in the back, and he used the quality he had in the front forward line to get those results over at the end of last season. Then they lost Olise, and I feel like they replaced him with Ismail Yassar and the Arsenal striker Nketiah, right? Yeah. They replaced Olise with that, right? It was a huge downgrade, but I think what mattered the most is the fact that, first of all, they had to adapt the style of play to cover the lack of Olise. But I also think what mattered a lot was the fact that Mateta played in the Olympics, right? So he missed, I think, 2 or 3 games at the beginning of the season, and he didn't really get any rest, right? Because he was playing at the Olympics. And I feel like as soon as Mateta, you can see that as soon as Mateta started scoring and contributing in the forward line, right? Again, they started picking up results. And by the way, guess who was the first team they beat this season? Mighty Tottenham Hotspur, right?
But they also lose their captain, their centre half. Was Joachim Anderson their captain last season?
Yeah, and they lost Anderson, right?
To Fulham.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. They also lost him, right? So I think that there was a bit of restructuring in the
big players. If you think about it, guys, they lost.
We were after him, weren't we? We were after that Anderson a few years ago.
We're always after him, aren't we? We're always after him. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I get it makes a lot of sense now. It's just taken them a while to get their kind of team together, back firing again, and what a fantastic result for them. What a result. Let's just do a few more questions in the chat or in comments. If Johnson plays, he will score against City. We'll see if he even plays. I'm not sure. I only support manager big up Nicola, who's willing to adapt when things are not working instead of playing the same tactics that clearly don't work. Yeah, totally agree. There's a lot more. There's a hell of a lot of Ange to approve. Now this is what for me with Ange. No more excuses. Yeah, don't want to hear them. Once we lose a game, I don't want to hear excuses anymore. I haven't got any time for it. Henry Fong TV, big up to you. And he said also having a feeling we'll get something first see if no Haaland. Quite possibly. Mark, Spurs were Palace's first win this season. Yeah, we just said that.
Yeah.
George, I watched it. Palace moved the ball really well. Best I've seen them play. They're improving. Kiwi Spurs TV, what do you boys think of the coaching staff? The boy who runs the warm-ups on the YouTube videos looks like he should be a basketball coach with how tall he is. Look, I don't rate this coaching staff we got in. There's nobody that recognised top coaches in there. It's a massive issue, and we all know Ange doesn't really coach and just leaves it to his coaching staff. So there's massive questions around that, and why we haven't seen any real progression from the team, from individual players as well. There's not really anyone in that team you think, he's improved under Ange and this coaching team. So, guys, over to you as well. Anyone want to comment?
I'll tell you what was a massive red flag for me is wherever Ange has gone, he's never taken a single member of staff with him. They're like mix and match when he turns up. Like the ones he's got there now, he never had any of them at Celtic. I don't believe he did anyway. But, you know, they're just like, it's people he knows, I suppose, or he's got the phone number or something. Do you fancy coming to do a job? You know, it tells you something when a manager, because, you know, I mean, we saw Poch. He had Jesus, someone, didn't he? And, you know, Mourinho's got, Conte, wasn't it? He had about 7 or 8 of them. Mourinho's got his collection that goes with him, you know, but that was a big red flag for me when Ange didn't even, all right, Ange become our manager, like, and you always look, like, who else has come in? There was nobody. It was, Ryan Mason's still knocking about. Oh, yeah, lovely. You know, and then it was it some Australian bloke, wasn't it? What's his blimmin' name?
Jedinak.
Jedinak, that's him. Yeah. And there's a couple others. You know, he's never taken anybody with him anywhere. And that to me is a red flag.
That is strange. Yeah, I can never work that out.
No.
Almost makes you think that maybe the coaches that he works with in the past actually don't enjoy working with him, or maybe he doesn't enjoy working with them.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it does seem weird, but apparently what I've heard, he doesn't take a lot of notice of the coaches anyway. You know, so I don't know.
Yeah, I think it would also be a different outlook if, even if he didn't bring, you know, his coaching staff, we provided him with like a top class coaching staff, right? Listen, I don't know those coaches like personally. Maybe they are talented young coaches that our, you know, director of football scouted, and he thinks that they are, you know, going to benefit the team, right? But when you look purely at the history of employment of some of those coaches, like we have that guy who managed Hibernian, I think.
He's still there, I think.
Yeah, and he's still there. We have Miles Jedinak, who wasn't anything special as a player, and he wasn't anything special as a coach, right? We have Ryan Mason, who we know isn't the greatest coach out there, right? And you can make a couple other examples like that, right? So you look at that, and we don't really have an experienced coaching staff. And Ange doesn't have his own coaching staff, so it kind of leaves you wondering what if we either of those two scenarios actually happened, and we either gave him an experienced staff. Maybe he didn't want experienced staff because they would point out the mistakes of his system, right? And right now with a young, impressionable coaching staff, he can kind of force his ideas onto them, right? Because he is a much older, experienced head. among those coaches, right? So yeah, it was concerning, as you mentioned, Mark, right? When I saw that he is not bringing his staff, it also means, because when coaches bring their own staff, like Conte did, right, all of them know exactly what he wants from the team, right, and they can immediately start working on the principles of that system, right? They then can immediately start forcing that system onto the players. Whereas I felt like there were times where the coaching staff didn't really know what they are supposed to teach the players, and you could see that on the pitch, where our players aren't good defensively because I don't think they are getting coached in that system defensively. It sometimes looks like they don't know what to do offensively, right? It just looks disjointed when I watch us play, and the effect of our playing is the way we play is the effect of the job that the coaching staff does, right? So yeah, it's like, but it's just one of the few issues that we have with Ange and everything
I
around
think
him,
you're
right?
absolutely bang on with that. You would think the way Ange plays his system, which is so unusual, no other manager plays it, that he would have experienced staff that know exactly how that works, so they could train the players quicker. Doesn't make sense to me.
Guys, let's jump back to the City game before we wrap it up tonight. We've been going on quite a long time. Good question about the coaching, though. Who's it? Brian? Big up, Brian. Evening to you. Hope you're well.
Big up, Brian.
Just a couple more about the coaching. Couple of Aussie connections on the staff, so surely must be Postecoglou or Munn's appointment. Fair enough. Okay. Where were we with this game? Let's go over starting lineups. So this is the predicted lineup I've seen online. You can question it. Let's go through. Start off with Mark. Is this who you would play? Was there anybody you'd like to change around in that team?
Oh, well, at least Jed's in there, because I've seen Paro over that side, but Jed's there. Because Jed is our only natural fullback. The other two are wing backs. Sa, Bentancur, Kulu, Matters, Sonny, and Tell. Yeah, that's about roughly what I do. But I do worry about Paro as a right back. Well, as the right back, because he constantly gets overrun. He's constantly getting caught out of position. But that's very similar to what I would have picked myself, probably. I mean, if I
build Sa and Bentancur.
Yeah.
We don't know our best midfield, do we? This is the trouble, Ange. We've got options now.
I'd put.
He knows.
I'd definitely have Sa in there because he's got the engine. Like, he runs a hell of a lot.
He hasn't been in his plans lately. Have we noticed?
No.
Sa's been on the bench a lot.
No.
I don't think he fancies him anymore.
Will he stick Biss in there instead then? I don't know. That's personally, I'd have Spence on the right and you Doggy on the left.
Yeah.
Personally, that's what I'd do. But
okay, so pretty much how you'd have it.
It is pretty much because I mean, what is Bergvall? Is he a 6? Is he like? I thought he was brought in as a sort of like a 10. Or
do you know what? I would probably play him. I'll play Bergvall. I probably would because I just don't think Basuma is going to offer us much better. Yes, he's obviously more experienced and he can have the odd good game, but Bergvall seems to be playing every week, right? At the moment, guys, Michael.
When we signed Bergvall, though, when we did sign Bergvall, I always thought he was like a sort of 10. I thought he was more attacking midfielder.
No, he's a central midfielder. It's like an 8.
Yeah.
Up and down. Michael, Nige, would you go for Bergvall in there, or would you go Basuma?
Nige, what do you think?
I'd probably go Basuma. I think we need to keep it as tight as possible. I like Bergvall. I think he's a good player. I've seen some promise in now. And I think next season we're going to see an even better player. But for this game, I'd play Basuma.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm in the same boat. I would play Bentancur, Bissouma, and Maddison as the midfield three. And I'm kind of torn with Kulusevski, right? Because I think he needs and he deserves a rest. But I don't think City is necessarily the game he can get rested in, because even though his performances of recently haven't been the best, I still think he is one of the better performing players in that team. And I would also be a bit scared that if we play Johnson there, as we mentioned earlier in the show, he doesn't provide the defensive cover that we will definitely need in that match, right? With Doku and Savigno on the wings. It also depends who plays right back, right? If Spence plays right back and Udogi plays left back, then I guess you can play Johnson a bit more safely because Spence is much better defensively than Porro. But I assume that it will be Porro on the right and Spence on the left, or Udogi, which then kind of forces you to play Kulusevski, right? It's a bit of a strange situation to be in, right? But honestly, guys, I wouldn't be surprised if Ange drops Maddison tomorrow. Like, I don't know, they have some
You
sort
can't
of
drop Maddison.
they have some sort of a beef between them. I don't know
No,
why.
Maddison's
I
got
don't know why. It
play.
pisses me off. It
Oh.
pisses me off every single time I see Maddison on the bench. I think he's one of the better players in that team, and he just gets shunned away every single time. And oh, here, come on, Maddison, have 15 minutes at the end of the match and try to make an impact, right?
Yeah, when we're 3-0 down. Yeah.
Like,
we've created nothing the whole game.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, right? I hope Maddison plays in the midfield, and I think Kulusevski will start. Although then again, like, Johnson scored 2 goals, so can you really drop him? What kind of a message?
What
that
about
sends to
Johnson
a guy,
centre forward? Johnson centre forward.
That's an option. I don't think Ange will do that, right? This is the issue, right? If you asked me, with all the assumptions I made when we started talking about the game where they will pin us back, I don't think you need a center forward who fights for the ball in the air. You can put Johnson up there and just use him as a pacey counter-attacking player, and then it makes sense. Then I would put Johnson through the middle, Kulusevski right, Son left, because I don't think Tel deserves to play every single game. He hasn't shown me anything yet to nail that spot. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but like, Johnson scored 2 goals, you didn't, right? Tel didn't.
Yeah.
So I think it's really tough, right? Because Johnson doesn't deserve to get dropped. Maddison doesn't deserve to get dropped. Kulu probably won't get dropped because he plays him every single game. Tel probably won't get dropped, but one of them has to be dropped, right? So, like, which one do you choose? That's the way I look at it, right?
Yeah, it's like I said. Before I came on here, I put in your thing. Johnson is not a winger. He never has been, never will be. He never was at Nottingham Forest. He was an inside forward. He was on the right sort of side. He was sort of like Son, but on the other side, because Son was never a winger either. He was an inside forward, but he was on the left side. Harry was the main man, and Son was sort of on the left of it. And so to expect Brennan Johnson to get down the line, beat players, whip balls in, that's not what his game's about. His game is about getting in the box and arriving late on the back post.
So for me, this would make sense, this team, yeah? So obviously Gray and Danso are the only options at centre-back. Obviously Vicario in goal. I would play Spence right back, a Doggy left back. Then I'd go for midfield, probably take the safer option with Basuma and Benson Core. Just as you said, Michael, earlier, we can get amongst them there,
Yeah.
If we play with some intensity, some bite in midfield, I know they don't do it regularly and they're very inconsistent, those two midfielders, but on their day, they can play well and put in a shift. So Bergvall probably could come on second half, freshen up the legs, bring that energy that the team may need in the second half if we're up against it. So for me, I would probably go Johnson up front. I know he's not going to do it, but that's what I would do. Kulusevski on the right, even though I don't like him on the right, but he can help out the right back. And then obviously Son's going to play, isn't he? That's for me, it's the team, but I don't think Ange will pick that team. I've got to be honest. I think we're going to see. This is what I think Ange will do. It'll be Porro right back, a doggy left back, central defence is what it is. He will probably. I've got a feeling he might go for Bergvall though, because he really seems to like Bergvall at the moment. You know, the thing with Bergvall, I know people raved about him. He played really well against Ipswich, but it's Ipswich. Yeah. Yeah, he probably looked a class above some of their players, yeah. Again, when I saw Bergvall against Man United, he kind of he drifts through the game, doesn't he? Sometimes games pass him by. There's some clever little touches, some good little moves. He's brave on
You
the ball.
expect that, though. You
He's young,
expect
isn't he?
that, though. He's only 18,
Yeah,
whatever he is.
I don't blame him. This is not
No,
critical of him. It's him
no.
being a young player in a team
Yeah.
which has not been great this season. But I think he probably will go Bentancur, Bergvall, and I hope Maddison. And then he'll go
I think
Tell,
if Berg,
Johnson, and then Son. I don't know. Maybe Kulusevski. Not
I
sure.
think if Bergvall starts, Madison doesn't.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I'd personally like to see, seeing as we haven't actually got a recognised striker at the moment, because Tell isn't a striker, as Mark put in the chat, he's an inside forward, and Johnson is an inside forward. I'd like to see him go 4-4-2, like the old days.
Mark, forget
But he's
that.
not
man.
doing that. I know.
We're talking about players' position, like players. Maybe Johnson playing out of position, but he would never ever change
But
like
if
that.
he put Tell and Johnson up front,
I get what you're saying.
they're not playing out of position because they were both like inside forwards.
Yeah.
You know, I've said,
A lot of them.
you know, so
He doesn't do it. He's not that manager.
No.
Or just whatever tactically adjustable manager, whatever you want to call it.
He will take the square pegs that we have and try and force them into round holes. I had to get that in. That's my saying.
Yeah, you have to, and the $1 billion stadium. We haven't had that yet.
Have I not mentioned $1 billion stadium?
No, we haven't had that
Oh,
tonight.
all right.
But
No.
we're not doing the
yeah,
league
yeah.
tonight. Guys, we're going to wrap it up shortly. Any final thoughts on that City games? We could do predictions if you want. We can, anybody else want to say anything about that match tomorrow? Then we're going to do some final comments in the chat, and then we're going to close the show down.
I'd take a draw right now. Give me a point. Keeps the run going. We don't lose. Yeah, that'd do me.
Fair enough. Michael?
Yeah, I'm same, right? As much as I love winning against City, right, and as much as I would like us to compete the 6-feet over Manchester clubs, right? If London can be, wide, then maybe Manchester will be right for this season because we've beaten United 3 times already, and now we have the chance to beat City for the 3rd time.
Yeah.
But all jokes aside, I would take a draw, right? It still proves to me that maybe something is getting, just a bit better. We are just getting, that tiny bit better than for the past couple of months, and it just keeps a positive momentum going, right? Even though it's not a win, I still think plenty of players and the coaching staff will take positives out of that. But if we win, brilliant, right? I as I said, I love winning against City. And I don't think it's as much of a wipeout as some people try to make it out to be, right? I know that City have won some games recently, and they actually looked well against Liverpool. But I don't think it's a massive gap in quality, right? I think there are places where we can hurt them, and I think just purely based off of how they play, it will kind of suit us, right? Suit the way we want to play.
Yeah, definitely. No low block. It will be lots of space to run into, and just have to hope we're clinical and it goes our way. But look, Mark, final thoughts on you on that City game prediction?
Now, if Haaland plays, I think we lose.
Okay.
But seeing as Haaland's not likely to play, I honestly I honestly quite fancy us to win because we have the hoodoo over them. You know, we do have the hoodoo over them, and I wouldn't be surprised if we won tomorrow night. At least I hope we win. I
What you're
hope we win
predicting, though?
everything.
What's your head saying and your heart saying?
Prediction,
Yeah.
2-1 Tottenham.
Wow.
Because we have got the hoodoo over
What's
them.
happened to you, man?
No. It's only because it's Man City. If it was,
I know. Only joking.
if it was Norwich at home, I'd predict us to lose 2-1.
Fair enough. Look, let's go. For me, I just think, I don't know. I can't call it. I just think, are we going to get through another game conceding that amount of chances? But then our City in hot form? No, they're not. They're vulnerable. It's so hard to predict this, isn't it? This one is tough. I wonder what the odds are. I don't know if that tells us anything. But look, let's go over some comments in the chat and then let's just wrap up. Hold on a second. So let's just go from here. Draven, Adge won't drop Porro. He must be in Porro's contract that he has to play if he's fit.
Mm-hmm.
And Porro has been poor, but he still keeps his place. CEM, Maddison has to play. We all agree with that. He's got to play him. I'll be shocked if he doesn't. George, without Maddison, how do we open up City? Yeah, very true. Very, very true. We need him 100%. He's been doing good this season when he's played. I don't think Maddison should play against City. I don't think he'll cope. I disagree with that. Maddison scored 2 at City early on this season. And that's Draven. Sorry, strongly disagree with you there. David Clark, if we play Tell and Johnson as a pair of strikers, you'll be waiting until Thursday night for us to score. David, you're not a big fan of either player. I get that. I totally get that. And Tell, for me, very raw player, not the player that we needed to sign. Nothing against him personally. I'm sure he could be a good player, but for me, what I've seen so far, he's just not been really in the games as he struggled. He's going to take him a while to adjust to the Premier League.
It's one of those who knows again, isn't it? That's the signings we make. We are winging a prayer now. On all our signings is winging a prayer. They might come good, but they might be not so good.
We'll see. We'll see about him. Tell, Michael, did you? I don't think I heard you talk about Tell tonight. Nige as well.
Yeah, I mentioned at the beginning that I don't think he necessarily deserves to start every game based off of what we've seen so far from him.
Yeah, but who else is there?
As Mark, who else is there? That's the first thing, right? But also, as Mark have said, right, he's a young player, young and raw player that we can mold into something, right? The only issue in general I have with this signing is I don't think he will want to stay, and all we got bombarded with at the end of the window was the fact that he will choose whether he wants to stay or not, right? So it begs a question, why do we bring a 19-year-old for 4 months for a playabout and he will leave in like a couple of months, right? And we will never see him again.
We're not going to see him when Solanke's back. We'll barely see him. He might get a few sub appearances off the bench.
Well, let's face it.
Wilson, we've got Wilson back as well, guys, as well. He's going to be playing on that left. He's going to take Son's place.
Yeah. Let's face it, he's only here because Bayern's the lowest money for Harry. It's to get 10 million off. It's to get 10 million off what they owe us, because that's what we're allegedly giving them for a loan fee. So it's just, we won't pay you, you don't pay us, sort of thing. You know, that's the only reason he's here.
He gets game time. He gets, he's going to get a lot more game time at Spurs than he would.
Of course. But the only reason,
when Solanke's back, we won't see him.
But the only reason he's here to start with is because it's the lowest money for Harry Kane, and it saves them coughing out 10 million for us.
Possibly, yeah. I think there's something to do with that. Definitely. Mark says 1-3 City. We get found out again tomorrow.
He's the negative side of the show.
Oh.
And so CM, he played pretty well in the away win. Yeah, about Maddison, he did. I think City will win. Bergvall or Kulu in that position, not Madders. Not like Madders. Don't know why. George is going for a 0-0 boring game. I don't know it'll be 0-0.
My goodness.
I think there'll be goals.
I would be really surprised if it was a 0-0.
No, I think.
When have we had 0-0?
What a price that will be. Must be decent. Yeah, definitely.
You know, actually, as far as I know, we only had 1-0 under Ange.
Yeah.
I think because it happened like a month ago, and I know that it was a big deal. Like the media, made it that it was our first 0-0.
Who was that against, Michael? Can you remember?
Yeah, I'm trying to. Or we haven't had one, but
No, I was going to say I can't remember us having a 0-0.
We drew 0-0 with Tamworth, didn't we, until extra time?
That was it.
Yeah,
that was it.
Yeah.
That was
yeah,
shocking.
yeah,
Right.
exactly right. And that was our first 0-0 in like 90 minutes of football under Ange.
Right, and right, my local team, who are in the same league as Tamworth, beat Tamworth 2-1 in 90 minutes the other night. Just saying.
Okay.
I'm just
Yeah.
putting that out there.
That was just one of the shocking results, wasn't it? Of the season, that draw. Man
Yeah.
City looked toothless against Liverpool, but we are not Liverpool. That's right. We're not. 6-1 about. Okay. Not
That's
bad,
probably
is it?
0-0. That's probably a 0-0.
0-0 at Paddy Power. I like it. Thank you.
20-1. No.
Worth it? Nah, surely not.
20. That would be a lot.
Well, they know we don't get it. They could offer $1 million to one.
We're
They could
conceding goals, guys. We're conceding goals tomorrow. City will probably concede as well.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a scoreless game. Both teams are not defensively good enough. I don't know what's got.
That's because I predicted we win.
It's his haircut. That's what I think.
Yeah.
At the 2 Marks show. Yeah, please subscribe to the 2 Marks if you haven't. That'd be great. And
I'll whack our link
please
in again.
subscribe to Nige as well. Just pop over to his channel as well and give him a sub. Much appreciated. If you guys haven't in the chat. And George 20s, yeah, that is madness. Come on, Dan, have some confidence. Sorry, not under this manager, I'm afraid. I don't. A lot more to prove. He's really done me in, that guy, Ange, this season. Yeah, crazy. Porro is Ange's love child. David's been on it today. I'll tell you what, big up David for staying for the whole show. Thank you so much for your comments and the humour. We should have paid the extra 10 million and got Gibbs White instead of Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Draven, look at the player City had out when Medders played last time. I don't think you should start this time. Come on, drop this, Maddison. Maddison has to play, man. Draven, you've got it in. You're starting to sound like Eugene. Are you Eugene in disguise
Maybe
tonight?
it is, yeah.
Norm 65, big up. What is that? A little. Is Tel a 9? Okay. Is Tel a 9? No, he's not. He's not an out and out forward. 2 Marks show. Don't forget to get 1 billion. Yeah.
I did mention it briefly.
I like Madders, but he doesn't do it against he does do it against the big boys. He's done it. Yeah, I don't agree with that. He has not every time. Sometimes he does go missing in certain games, but I think that's more down to the system and Ange's tactics. The mighty Tamworth. Right, let's call it a night, guys. Let's call it a night. Big up to everyone who's watched tonight, everybody in the chat. Fantastic. Big up to George as well. You've been in it the whole time as well. Thank you so much for watching. And everybody who's joined throughout the evening, made your comments, much appreciated. I hope you enjoyed the show. Now, massive thank you to Michael for jumping on, making his debut on the show tonight. I hope you enjoyed yourself. It's been fantastic show.
Yeah. Thanks for the invite. I love talking about football, love talking about Spurs, and it's actually nice to talk in a calmer setting rather than on Stereo's show where there is like 9 of us and every single one is talking over each other. You can get your points through. So
we'll get Snow on next time, and you can come on as well, and then we can come back.
Listen, even with Stel by himself, it's different again than with like 9 people, right? You know it, Dan. You've been on those post-match shows where it's hard to get your get your point in because you don't have the time. But yeah, I loved it. I hope I didn't bore you guys to death. I know
No,
my
you're
answers
brilliant,
can
man.
No.
be like
Yeah, you'll be coming
long-winded,
back as
so-
well, man. Everybody who's come on can always come back. We're just trying to get as many people on the show as possible. Bring back some regulars, bring back some new faces, bring on some new faces to the show. It's great having different conversations. Big up to Roadman as well, joining us earlier. He was gave a very
Roadman.
different outlook. Fantastic. And Mark, big thank you for you for stepping in as well.
No worries, brother.
Roadman jumped off. That was fantastic for you to come on. Much appreciated. Everybody, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the 2 Mark Show. Please subscribe to Nige as well, Nige's channel. And yeah, that's great. And again, good night to everybody. Thank you so much for watching. And come on, you Spurs. Good night.
Come on, you Spurs.